Well, there goes the Daverhood. Good morning, everybody, and welcome live on this Saturday morning, September 21st, 2019. I guess is today the first day of autumn or tomorrow, whichever. I'm in sort of a fall kind of mode here because we're going to be falling for our very special guest. We're going to have one and only Lucie Arnaz in the Daverhood in a little while. Not yet. Oh, all these people are tuning in. And it's like, yes, we have a great show. Yes, we have so much fun stuff to do. And no, Lucie isn't here yet, but she's going to be with us not too far from now. And welcome to Natasha and Cynthia and Jeff. Oh, and Fred from Friendly. And I assume Wendy as well. And David from my high school. And so many other people who are now tuning in to watch the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the stream with me, Dave Lefkowitz. I'm just going to invite some people to tune in because the best thing about this is the more people we watch, the more people play our Today Yesterday quiz, the more folks enjoy, hopefully, the show and tell their friends and their families and their coworkers and, most importantly, their enemies, because Dave's Gone By is doing our 714th this pronoun thing is just going to kill me. It really is. And I'm not even teaching English anymore. And the pronoun thing is still getting to me. But anyway, he, she, it, they, them, all of you, that pronoun I can deal with, should be watching Dave's Gone By today, September 21st, our brand new edition of the show. String of pearls for Lucie Arnaz, ladies and gentlemen, and all the other fun stuff we're going to do. So let me get it started our usual way, with our intro. And let's see if we can get this to actually play out loud. That would be very nice. Oh, it would help if I did this. See, as long as one little tiny thing goes wrong, everything else can go right.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. There goes the Daverhood.
And there was much rejoicing.
Didn't your meds kick in yet?
We got David Lefkowitz here. He's a Long Island Arts guy. He's got his own radio show.
I want you all to really enjoy a wonderful program done by a fine artist.
A glorious thing of unparalleled beauty.
Dave's Gone By. Dave is one of my very favorite broadcasters, so keep on listening to Mr. Dave.
Tropical hot dog night. Two flamingos in a fruit fight.
Well, I reiterate, there goes the Daverhood with me, Dave Lefkowitz, live on this Saturday morning with a brand new edition of a Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the stream. And we have so many of our usual, I do not say this in any way, in a negative way. I think it's wonderful that so many of our usual suspects are tuning in. For example, Friendy and Cynthia and Jeff and Tony, and then there's Ralph and all the other, can't really see all the folks who are logging in at the moment to watch us, but it's great to see you. And thanks for tuning in to see us. And it struck me just this morning what a weird moment this is going to be for the show. Because we're a radio show. We started on terrestrial radio on a tiny little, cruddy little station in Babylon, Long Island about 16 years ago. And that was it. It's still a radio program, but the way that communication has changed and the way this program has changed is, now there's a physical me. There's like, oh, there's video too, because that's just the way things have morphed over the past just 2 or 3 years, that on some level it's television, but it's really still radio, and there's just a base to it. But okay, here I am connecting to however many dozen, maybe over the course of a week, a few hundred people doing Dave's Gone By. And on the program later today, we're going to have the daughter of someone who helped create the idea of television comedy as we know it. That's kind of mind-boggling. It just threw me for a sec, because obviously Lucie Arnaz is the daughter of Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball. And who doesn't know I Love Lucy, right? Still on a lot of people's lists as the most beloved, most wonderful sitcom of all time. And it's not like we're going to bombard Lucie Arnaz just with questions about her folks, because she's answered those a million times. And she's had a career of her own. She's been on Broadway in They're Playing Our Song and in Pippin. She's done a couple of movies. She's done tons of television, and now she's doing some cabaret. I want to let you know already that from September 30th through October 2nd, she will be doing her cabaret evening at Feinstein's 54 Below. So you're going to want to go see that. But it's just, it's amazing to me the way the world has changed, and again, I guess with some credit to doing this program for so long and doing what I think is a quality show in my deluded mind, that I'll be talking to like the daughter of the first lady of television. Everybody knows her name all around the world and watched I Love Lucy. Millions of people back, and people bought television sets in the late 1950s to watch I Love Lucy. Meanwhile, here I am with this little tiny Facebook program, one podcast, I think it's like 750,000 podcasts out there. I don't know how many video podcasts there are. And yet here we are. So there's it's 1 degree of separation from the beginnings of American television. So we go from the beginnings, from this great rise, thanks to, among others, Desilu, right, to the destruction and the downfall of American television, which you watch right here every week, Saturday from 9 until noon or thereabouts on this Dave's Gone By program. By the way, welcome also to Michael and Richard. And Richard, you never answered my email. I had some questions about the show that Rabbi Saul is trying to do off Broadway, and really would love a write back from you. So kind of do that this week if you can. Drew and Antonia and Leanne and Nancy, excuse me, and so many other people tuning in on this Saturday. So here's what else is going to be on the show. I've been promoting, okay, Lucy, we know. Lucie Arnaz, her husband, by the way, was on this program about 2 years ago. His name is Larry Luckenbill. He is a very accomplished actor, and he's been on Broadway, and we talked to him at a wonderful time. So Rabbi Saul Solomon will be talking to Lawrence Luckenbill's wife. Wonder how many times it's been put that way, but yeah, we'll be talking to her. Also on the show, of course, we'll be doing Greeley Crimes and Old Times. Oh, I wonder if I did get a call. Hold on. Let's see if I can get her on the phone to get things started. Not Lucy. This is another really wonderful wife. Now I hope this will go through. Gotta pick up the speaker here.
Hey, honey.
Hello. You are on the air, by the way. This is the Dave's Gone By better half. Her name is Joyce. How you doing, my dear? How's it going?
I'm very sleepy.
You're very swell, yeah. Joyce has been just, like killing herself for the past 3 weeks, taking our house back in Colorado and rearranging and giving away and selling and emptying and throwing away because we're putting the thing on the market. So how's it going, dear? Hello?
Good. I want to get my earpiece because I'm getting feedback.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I'm hoping you're getting positive feedback, because this show does create good buzz. That's what I need. That's what I need. Hold on. I've got to let me see if I can find the sound effect that I really, really need to do this show properly. And I hope it doesn't shock you when I put it on there, but that's what I should have gotten already. All right, I'm going to have it handy. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So I know you're sleeping. I know you've been working like crazy. How you doing?
Good. I made myself a cup of tea with honey.
Good.
And I'm gonna send you some stuff later today. Okay. And then I'm gonna have breakfast. Yay!
Is this a
then
great
I'm
show
gonna-
or what? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then I gotta go to do some shredding.
Okay.
Very exciting.
On a guitar, or are we talking about paperwork or what?
No, I gotta do some shredding papers.
Oh, okay. So we're getting, I mean, you've really put the house in some kind of good. Was there anything when you were going through our tons and tons of stuff? Because you called me
Your
kind
tons and tons of stuff.
of, yes, okay. You called me kind of a hoarder, and you said I collected. But was there anything that you found in digging through piles and piles of things in closets and drawers that were like, oh, or
All your pornography.
well, oh, did you find that?
Yes.
Yes. Well, what's the sickest thing you found?
Twin dachshund babies.
Twin dachshund. Well, you know, as the song goes, I like to get a long little doggy.
Oh.
Wait for it. Here we go.
Oh boy.
Thank you so much. So, no, but what about anything really nostalgic or anything you've completely forgotten about?
I found a lot of pictures of the puppies.
I hope you're
And I
sending
found
them.
some pictures of our,
Yeah,
like the wedding.
right, yeah. You're not throwing out any photographs, I hope, because
I had to move that.
what do you mean move?
It's in my office.
Oh, okay, fine. I'm just, you know, because we divested of hundreds of books, thousands of CDs, detritus, just stuff around the house and toys and crap. But image pictures, you know, and hard drives with my actual pornography on them, save those. You have to definitely save that as well.
I'm going to declare that when they say what's in the box, I'm going to say 2 hard drives full of pornography.
Yeah, you won't be getting on that plane, dear. Even
I'll
though
say it's all legal.
it's all completely well. There are
I'll
some
say-
things involving endangered animals, but
The dachshunds, yeah.
yeah, definitely that. So
Murray
what
was
else?
so cute when he was a baby.
Who was?
Murray.
Murray, our first dog, our late dog Murray, who was a red dachshund and passed
And
away about 2
Oofty,
years ago.
David. Oofty was fat. Compared to what he is now, he was heavy.
Well, yeah, he was like an 11, 12 pounder, and now he's down to
Yeah.
like 8. So, yeah. I only wish I were going in that direction. I wish I were
Would you-
getting thinner, you know?
Did you gain weight?
Well, not since you've seen me, but I've certainly gained weight in the past 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for letting everybody know. Yeah, I was like a svelte 140 when you met me, and now I'm topping out probably about.
You also had more hair, baby.
Well, this I did, all over my body, as a matter of fact. Still have it on my ankles.
And your toes.
Yeah, the toe hair is growing. Don't even know how that's working, but toe and nose hair. Don't know where I'm going with this. So what else? What's going on in Greeley, Colorado, where I have not been since January?
Well, I didn't look at the story, but our friends live in Fair Acres neighborhood.
Yes.
And there was a SWAT team
Yeah.
the other day.
Did you hear any of it? Did you hear the sirens? Like
No.
early in the morning, they were using stun grenades.
Yeah, they said
Mhm.
they said the whole block heard it.
Right, and you know, it got the typical response. If you went on the Greeley Tribune website to find out about it, like half the people were saying, "Oh, this house has been a problem. It's like a crackdown or a meth den, or you get unsavory types coming in and out of there all the time." And what were they waiting for? It's taken so long for them to empty that house. And then you've got other people, when you hear the level of crime and basically misdemeanor against the folks in the house, like really 3
What
o'clock
was
in the morning
it?
with stun guns and a SWAT team.
Do you recall what
What?
were the crimes?
And it was little stuff,
Wow.
apparently, but just a lot of it.
You know what it was? They didn't cut the lawn.
You know, that you can't do that in Fair Acres.
No.
That's a heavy thing to
No
to deal with.
lawn cutting.
Right.
I think somebody put a non-HOA approved sign on the lawn.
Oh no, you cannot do that.
I know. It's
That's
bad. I didn't
real
want to
bad.
tell you.
I think they left their garbage out overnight.
Oh no.
Can of garbage out overnight. That will bring almost the FBI to
That
certain
will bring
neighborhoods.
ice.
So let's see. What else is going on? I'm as much as I love all the stuff that you've done with the house and how busy
Yeah.
you've been, and packing up the house and putting things in boxes and getting it ready to sell. So if you know anybody who wants to buy a townhouse in Greeley, Colorado, folks.
Oh, no, it'll sell.
Oh yeah. Well, it's definitely going to sell, but the more the merrier. We want to pay our price.
Yeah.
But the one thing that you did not do last Sunday, or was it Saturday? Probably Saturday.
14th.
Yeah. Where did you not go?
I was banned from Potato Day.
How were you? Why did you not go to Potato Day last week?
Because if you're not here, you're Mr. Potato.
You mean you do it just for my benefit? You go to Potato Day?
No, they won't. Then I can't go without you.
Why?
Because you're the Potato King. You're like the Don Corleone of potatoes.
This is actually a wonderful lead-in, folks, to something very special that's about to happen. One of the things, we've thrown out so much, I don't even want to know. It breaks my heart when I think of the stuff that just flew out the door over the past month of our house. But the one thing that Joyce saved.
Yes, not the one thing, the 4,000 things.
That Joyce spent the time, the effort, and God knows the money to put in a box and ship to New York are potatoes. And when I said potatoes, of course, anybody who knows this program knows exactly what I mean. We've been opening every week another box that Joyce has sent me of my potato collection. Are you ready, dear? I know you're not watching on video.
Did you open the box with the pepitos?
I haven't gotten to the pepito box
There's
yet.
one box that is heavily pepito.
And this is what I do for my wife. This is how special I believe she is. I was going to do an edition of Potato News today because we found the costume last week for Potato News. But I'm holding off. I'm waiting until next week when you're back here, when you're physically with us, to do Potato News. How's that sound?
I love it. Thank you.
Are you thrilled? Oh, good. Okay, here we go. I'm opening a box.
I hope it's Pepito. Hope it's Pepitos.
Well, wait. First of all, now, mainly I collect the large size, regular knockoff, fake Mr. Potato Head potatoes, and they look like this. Here's one. Hi.
Is it potato or Pepito?
This is a potato. However, in this box as well, when they have children, they make these. This is Papito, we call him. Mm-hmm. So this box has a Papito in it, but it looks mostly like potato. Let me check some more. Let me do some more. We have, oh look, another potato.
David, if you say, oh look, another potato, you're going to say it a lot.
Well, I'm going to say it a lot because, oh look, another potato. And if people think I'm doing some kind of magic trick, like I'm just holding up the same potato again and again, that is not true. Because here's one. This is a soft-eyed potato. Here's another soft-eyed potato. But notice they're not quite exactly the same. This one has goiter over here, because you can tell by the eyes. And this one's a little different. See? Many potatoes. And look what was also here.
What?
Oh, you saved this.
What?
This way we can go together because last week you saved the potato costume.
Yes.
Right. This is the Mrs. Potato Head costume from Toy Story.
Of course I would save that. Come on.
Yes. Oh, look at this. I'm not going to put this on, but this I've worn this on the show.
David, if you look in there, you're going to also see the mouth and the glasses, the whole deal.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm not waiting. I'm actually divesting of the box as we speak. And this is kind of a side thing. I know that you saved this, and this is so incredibly important to me. This is one of the most important objects of my life. And I'm not really a hoarder. I'm really not. I hoard a couple.
Yes, you are.
No, I collect. There's a difference. I used to collect playbills, and then stopped for some good reason. I collected. What else do I collect? I collect potatoes.
Yeah.
The TV Guide Fall Preview, which I cannot find a friggin' copy of. I've collected those for a bunch of years. And what else? What else do I collect, babe? Nothing else. Nothing physical,
everything.
Tangible. Music I would collect, CDs and books.
Yeah.
But I'm not like the Lids brothers collecting newspapers in the middle of the hallway.
No, but it doesn't mean if you're a hoarder, it's just, like refuse and stuff.
Well, yeah, but I'm also not keeping jugs of my pee in the house. I keep those in the office. You know?
No, I see them in the garage.
No, those are the jugs of your pee.
Oh, okay.
You haven't noticed. After you leave the bathroom, before you flush, I zip in there. But
I wondered why there was a little container in the potty.
But I'm so glad that you saved this, because this was huge. This was my friend for a couple of years, probably when I was older than I should have been to have this. But this was my Oscar the Grouch puppet.
Oh yes, I'm glad you got him.
Well, I'm very good. Yeah, thank you for not saving him, because Oscar was my falling away.
For not saving him?
No, thank you for not throwing him away.
Okay.
But he was my hand puppet growing up, and Oscar was my far and away favorite.
Is that slang
character.
for anything?
Well, I mean, you can't imagine how much fun I had.
Oh, I can
Oscar.
imagine.
And it was fun because it allowed me to release my anger, because that's what Oscar was. Oscar was id. Oscar was, hey,
really?
People. Yeah. That was the thing. Oscar said what was on his mind. All the other Sesame Street characters were nice.
Oh, they were politically correct, yeah.
And stupid like Big Bird, or just hungry, like, well, actually Cookie Monster's id also. But all the human characters.
Cookie Monster had, I think, ADHD.
Yeah. Well, no, he didn't. Cookie Monster
He would say,
focused on
cookie.
Yeah.
He had impulse control.
Bird had
like he would say, I'm not going to eat the cookie, I'm not going to eat the cookie, and then he would like eat 70 cookies.
Yeah, well, exactly. You're
That's
right.
Impulse control.
Yeah. So, and I loved Cookie Monster too. I really did. But Oscar was the guy. Oscar was the closest to my personality. Oscar was what I wanted to be. I wanted to be the asshole who told everybody what he really thought of them, and just wanted to be left alone, which is pure Oscar. And I'm still that way.
You are.
So thank you for saving my Oscar puppet, which even had this. I don't know what this pull chain thing is for. You know, it's not like Avenue Q here, but I could work the mouth just like this. Oh, we got a little message from Fred, from Friendy, who was helping you. You know, they were taking some of the stuff off her hands back in Colorado. And when I mentioned the jugs of urine, he said that, yeah, you had told them those were duck sauce.
Oh God, I hope they didn't eat it.
Well,
I thought it was duck sauce.
Wouldn't duck sauce be a little thick? It depends. The dye day.
I wondered why there was toilet paper. I did.
Yeah. By the way, guess what, hon?
What?
Another potato.
Oh Jesus.
Yes, indeed.
Jesus Christi.
Oh, and Stan tuned in. Oh my God, someone is calling you or calling me, and I don't know why. I'll bet you it's spam. I'll bet you there's a spam call. If I lose it, no, hold on. I'm going to call you back.
Let it go.
All right, fine.
Because you're going to lose me. You don't know how to merge.
Well, I thought I learned on our wedding night, but you know. All right, bye, other caller. Just go away, other caller.
Maybe it was someone from Sesame Street saying, "Don't smack talk."
No, they're not going. Oh, there they go. If whoever it was, kindly leave a message. And I know it's not Lucy. I know she's calling later, and you know, she's on a different area code. Welcome, by the way. Stan is back, as we said, and Michael and Lawrence and some of the other folks watching as we bring out more potatoes. Exciting, huh? So what else? What else did we want? So you did not go to Potato Day.
No. Last
Saturday in Greeley, Colorado, where we've been going almost every year since we have lived there. You missed the blacksmith. You missed the tomahawk thrower. You did like the buffalo. Yeah.
I don't think they had buffalo soldiers last year.
Oh, really?
No.
Buffalo soldiers, do you want to explain what those are?
It's the Black Regiment of Soldiers.
Yeah.
And they demonstrate horse stuff, right?
Was it the Civil War or World War I that they were from?
It looked to me like civil.
So they have these black people recreating this regiment of black soldiers in the American Army. And yeah.
You talk, honey.
Well, I'm holding up another potato for obvious reasons, because potato. And yeah, so that was kind of cool. And you know, it was what Greeley, Colorado was like 150 years ago. And I would go there bedecked with potatoes.
Civil War.
It
says, Buffalo soldiers were African-American soldiers who served mainly in the Western frontier following the American Civil War.
The end
All
of the
Black
Civil
Cavalry.
War was near, and quite accidentally, boom, boom. Okay, Potato.
Oh my
good.
God, David.
What?
It says their main tasks were to help control Native Americans of the plains, capture cattle rustlers, and thieves, and protect settlers, stagecoaches, wagon trains, and railroad crews.
It's kind of funny that they used the look down upon bedraggled black soldiers to control the Indians.
I know.
And it's like one oppressed minority oppresses another, and that's America. That is the history of America right there.
Wow.
Yeah. The Potatoes are going to reenact that. And it's like,
oh, really?
One Potato's going to be a Native American.
Okay.
You know what you're going to do? You're going to play a Native American. How? You're just going to play him. That's the thing. You're going to be the Native American. How? You just make believe. It's a performance. It's acting. Okay, can you do that? How? I could do that all day, hon. I really
don't. Please don't.
You sure? I'm not going to do the African American soldier because that'll just get me completely thrown off the air with my sense of humor. I'm going to move along with another potato. Oh, how you? Don't tell me you're coming down with a cold.
I'm inhaling dust.
Oh, well. Is it angel dust or just the regular?
No, I don't do drugs.
I know. Crack is whack, my dear.
Drugs are bad.
Drugs are bad. Let me tell the folks what's going to be on Dave's Gone By today. I don't think I told everything of what's on the show because we talked about, of course, Rabbi Saul Solomon interviewing Lucie Arnaz in a while.
Mm-hmm.
We also have our Inside Broadway segment where we talk about the theater, and I'll be reviewing a couple of shows that I saw over the last week or two. And, oh my gosh, saying farewell to two people that we lost in the Daverhood this week. Two friends of the Daverhood died over the past week or so, and we got to say farewell to them. We'll have our Yesterday quiz, so yay that Tony and Cynthia and Jeff are both tuned in because you'll play against them. And who else? Our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, where we do a short poem about a Colorado place, and today it'll be Meeker, Colorado. And, I do apologize for this. We do have a My Sick Mind segment as well, because we lost Rick Ocasek of the Cars about a week ago. Now, he wasn't a guest on the show, but occasionally some horrible jokes pop into old Dave's noggin, and he just has to share them. So we'll have a My Sick Mind segment. And if there's time, story time, of course, with your favorite book on Why Fish Fart.
Oh, God. Isn't that done?
Well, no, because we're only doing like 3 or 4 pages at a pop. So we're still... The good news is that eventually we will get to the chapter about fish farting. We're moving towards... I don't know when, but it's going to happen. It is going to happen. So will it happen today? Probably not, but you have to keep tuned in just to find out. So there's all that. That's what we're doing on this episode of the show. That's already a half hour in. Oh my God, it's 9:30 Eastern Time in the Daverhood with me, Dave Lefkowitz, my darling and adorable wife, Joyce. Joyce, do you want to join me for some Greeley crimes and old times?
Sure.
Cool. This is a segment that we take wholesale from the Greeley Tribune, which is our newspaper, our newspaper. I don't know what that is. Newspaper back home in Greeley, Colorado. Let me see if I have an example. I guess I do. Here we are. The Greeley Trib, they do 2 different columns every week, one of which is called 100 Years Ago, where they look through the local newspaper 10 decades back, and they reprint some of the funniest, weirdest, most nostalgic items in the paper from 1919. And then there is also the return of Coplog. Yes, Coplog is back. I wrote a furious and vicious letter to Joe Moylan at the Trib, and I read it last week, and he replied very kindly, and he said, yes, I've been busy with, real crime and real news stories at the Trib. And also the Trib is stretched really thin in terms of personnel right now.
I think, honey, he was spilling the tea.
Pretty much. So he said, yep, I'm getting back on the stick. I'm doing more of these, and he did. So we do have Greeley crimes, and we have old times. And we start that segment. Are you ready for it, babe?
Yep.
It starts with our theme music, which sounds a little something like this. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Greeley crimes and old times. So, by the way, we do thank our friend of the Daverhood, Mike Peters, who puts this column and has been doing it for years and years and years, puts the 100 years ago part together for the Trib. And now Joe Moylan, who is the guy who has taken on Coplog and has returned to his duties. He's making it happen. And so we can do this segment just for you. Are you ready, babe?
Let's roll.
Police rolled and responded to 41st Avenue Court for a man who said that he had received a call from a scammer claiming to be a Fox News reporter. I'm not sure which is more fake, a scammer or a Fox News reporter. The scammer said the caller had been accused of rape and would be charged if he didn't pay $75. Amazing.
That's fair. Well, not fair.
Yeah, $75 for rape.
$75, you know.
It's still cheap to be accused of rape.
Two coffees at Starbucks.
Yeah. But, and hey, you know, Brett Kavanaugh paid it. Just kidding, just teasing. Police also responded to an apartment. Oh, by the way, the scammer did not receive any money. They didn't get the payoff.
Oh, good.
Police responded to an apartment complex on 9th Avenue for a man and a woman. 9th Avenue. Yeah, not 8th, close to 8th, but on 9th. Yeah. They were both naked and smoking methamphetamine in the trash room. Okay.
Well, you know, David, if you're going to smoke meth, what better to smoke it?
Yeah, I don't know, but if I were
in the trash room,
I wouldn't be naked. I would be afraid of getting burns and stuff.
Yeah, but then your clothes don't get dirty.
But here's the deal: police got this phone call about this couple doing that. They got to the place. The couple were fully clothed, and they were not smoking meth when police arrived 3 minutes later. Nothing. They were just in the trash room. I don't know what the hell they were doing in the trash room.
Maybe they were taking out the trash.
That could be. That could be. So, you know, I wonder if the person who called.
It's like, you know, remember they say like someone will say there's a suspicious package, and it's somebody's fishing cooler, or like people are way far out.
Well, but how do they get that wrong? How do they get that a couple that's doing nothing except throwing away trash?
Can I tell you? I bet you the person who called was on meth.
Yeah, there you go. I'll bet you.
They're like, hey, I'm on meth.
Oh, by the way, Fred wrote to us, you know, and by the way, you can all message us right here on Facebook if you're watching the show. If you're in a watch party, you can just message each other. But if you're outside the watch party, just message me right here. Today's Greeley Trib front page. Quote, a Weld County man jailed in June on suspicion of first-degree murder allegedly killed his 2 adult roommates over an argument. What do you think the argument was about, babe?
Over who's supposed to clean the bathroom.
You're actually sort of on the rightish track on this. It is a domestic.
I have roommates.
Check this out.
I understand.
He's on suspicion of killing his roommates over an argument about feeding the family dog from the table.
Yep, that'll do it.
It will. Because, you know, like if I were at a holiday party and we invited a bunch of people and one of them tried to feed our dog chocolate or something really poison, you know, nuts or a dog shouldn't, I'd kill that person.
Well, I think it happens because it's not the event that happens that's the problem. It's like that's the straw that broke the camel's back, you know? That's
the tipping point.
Yeah, it's like there've been big fights going on, and then it's one thing, you know, like that's domestic violence. Right? Well, that's what happened when I worked with domestic violence.
There'd be that one moment that would just go over the line.
Yeah, it's like a history of abuse, and then somebody doesn't cook the pasta right, and then it's like World War VII.
Well, thank goodness you cook a pretty good pasta, so I haven't had to beat you in a long time.
You just try. You try.
Joyce is larger than I am. She's kind of, you know, about 5 inches taller than I am.
And I go to the gym.
She goes to the gym. I'm just a big, you know, blub here.
That's right.
I mean, I'm getting more exercise now that I'm working full time, but not that much. So yeah, she could kick my ass about 12,000 ways.
That's right. Mama said knock you out.
But a guy can dream. I can at least dream that I could beat the crap out of you, can't I, hon?
That's horrible.
I'm just saying.
You're a sick person.
Leave me some of my dreams, dear.
You could kick butt with grammar and writing correction.
Oh, thank you. That's a nice
could.
compliment. Thank you, hon.
Listen, like you're the king of grammar stuff.
I'd be the king. I'd be the king of grammar.
Yeah.
Oh, you think much very.
It's true. You do write really well, and you're an excellent editor.
Oh, well.
You are.
Well, thank you. I really, because understand that my wife has written books and tons of academic, high-level scholarly articles that I can't make head or tail of. But by the way, sorry about that, of. But
a Swedish journal took my book review about the embodiment book. So.
What was that? A Swedish publisher took the book review?
Remember the one that they didn't want our article?
Oh, I remember them.
They took the review.
Wow.
They just published it. Yeah.
So those bastards, they don't want my writing. They just want your writing. How nice.
No, they don't. I think because of the World Cup, they're bitter.
Oh, that could be.
The emotions run high.
Oh, and look! I have the cover here of Why Fish Fart. Maybe it's a Swedish fish. You see, it's very cute.
God, I hate that book.
I know you hate that book. All right, let's move on.
Whoever wrote it should be punished.
Let's move on with more Greeley crimes and old times. Let's do some old time stuff. Are you ready? Here we go. The Methodist Church ministers.
Ooh, yes.
They will be receiving a minimum salary of how much per year? Do you
$200
per year? Huh?
Oh, 2,000.
Oh, no, 1,200. 1,200
That's
per
fair.
year. Yeah, like $100 a month back then. It's about what I make where I work now, but only if they spend all of their working time in church work.
Well, David, a lot of religions don't take poverty vows, so they don't have to be poor.
Well, no, but the thing is, they can't take any other kind of work. Everything that they do has to be for the church or volunteering or
well,
part of their pay.
If they work for like the postal service, they could pray over packages.
There you go.
They work in the supermarket, they could pray over the produce.
Oh, well,
yeah,
which would be nice. Keep the bugs off, keep the produce looking nice.
Listen, avocados need some love.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
They do. And what do you say when a priest does a prayer over an avocado?
Tell me what.
Holy guacamole.
God. Okay. I thought they banned you from using that rim shot thing.
They banned me from rimming, which is a very different kind of a thing.
Oh, God.
Watch those altar girls. Anyway, some more. Let's do another old time.
Okay.
Hey, Fred Brugg.
Fred?
No, Fred Brugg.
Oh, okay.
He had a store on the east side of Greeley, which was burglarized on Sunday night.
Uh-oh.
The burglar took 80 pennies from the cash register, which was probably worth about $10, $15.
That's the name of our friend's dog. They took 80 little puppies?
Well, I guess they were pokey little puppies. It was later discovered, and somehow these, I think, were connected. Later on, it was discovered that a young boy took a room at a local hotel. How do you think he paid for it? Probably 80 pennies. 80 pennies, yes.
Oh, well.
It was supposed he was the burglar, but he's left town. How many young boys go, traveling around, and now we don't let kids out of our sight until they're like 17.
Because I think he's a hobo now.
And that could be it.
He's living on the Hobo train.
And by the way, it was an early version of the Motel 6. It was actually Motel 2 back then.
Oh, jeez. Motel 1.
That's comedy right here. Time for an advertisement. Oh boy. Are you excited?
Not really.
Real ability and brains are required to be a U.S. senator. A senator should be a man who knows the laws and the statutes. Charles Waterman is the Charles Waterman is the kind of man you would hire for a job. It's like a job, not the job of senator. He's like, he's the kind of guy you would hire for a job. I know, I find that a little bit, what shall we say, a little prevarication there.
Yes.
I mean, there's like autistic people who get hired for jobs because they can do repetitive work. So
I think they're just promoting him too much.
Charlie Waterman, yeah. I would hire him for a leisure time activity, even.
I would say flow with the waterman.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
That would be my
I
thing.
like that. Flow with the waterman. Ah, I guess that means he's a good guy and not a drip.
Oh,
Oh, man. Let's get back to
I'm worried about you, honey.
Oh, honey.
What?
Hobo alert. Hobo alert. Do you want to explain what a hobo alert is, dear?
I think it's when they talk about extricating hobos, sometimes hobos with chickens, sometimes people of ethnic descent that they didn't like at the time.
Yeah, basically back in old times, lots of stories were about loose chickens and just the evils of homeless people, of vagrants and itinerant hobos, ruining the neighborhood, and how the police
ruining the county.
Ruining the county, sorry, yeah, ruining Weldon, whatever county back then. So,
Yeah.
and I want to preface this story from the Greeley Tribune by saying sometimes it takes just one word to make a story funny to me. I can't explain why I find this amusing, but I can say that if they change one word, I won't laugh. But there's something about the way this is phrased that makes it funny. And now that I've oversold it, let's see if you laugh too.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Police, and this is a new story, not an old one. Police responded to a grocery store on East 22nd Street for an unwanted person.
Uh-oh.
The caller told police a homeless man sleeping behind some dumpsters got angry with him when he started the lawnmower and woke the homeless man up.
I'd be mad too.
And this is the idea of a homeless guy trying to sleep and then a lawnmower starts up like 2 feet from him. All right, I don't know why I find that funny. I just do, the word lawnmower got me.
Really?
Obviously, it did not.
It might have been a person.
Did not get all of you. It could be. Maybe like Jose from Mexico who came to mow the lawn. Maybe he woke the homeless guy up, and that's what started the problem. That could be. Wow, that got quiet.
Yeah.
Let's move on to another crime. Police responded to an ice cream shop. Yay!
Oh.
On 10th Street for a woman driving a Mercedes-Benz with Nebraska plates, saying over and over again she needs to come down. Because so many meth heads drive Mercedes-Benz.
You drive a Mercedes, you go to Baskin Robbins, and you just come down. You get some rocky road and you come down.
Well, if she'd been driving all the way from Nebraska,
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised. It's like, yeah, maybe she needs to come up to Greeley just to come down from Omaha, I guess. Wow.
Exactly.
Let's just hear that silence for a moment. Let's just revel in the quiet of jokes not landing. Isn't that nice? Isn't that just marvelous right there? Maybe we should go back to old times in our Greeley Crimes and Old Times segment. While announcing they would do a disservice to any driver, Greeley police are strictly enforcing the headlight and taillight laws in town. If you have a burned out light on your auto machine,
yes,
you will receive a ticket. Again, this is one of those things where one word that back in the day, 100 years ago, they called cars auto machines.
I love it.
And here's the deal. If you hyperventilate in your car back then, is that autoerotic asphyxiation? I'm not even going to bother with the noise button on that. I'm just not even going to bother. Oh, my God. Let's move forward. Carson could get away with these. Here we go. Police, these are real, though. These are actually real stories that were either in the newspapers a week or two ago, or phone calls that came into the Greeley Police Dispatch, or stories that were in the newspapers 10 decades ago. Police responded to a fast food restaurant on 10th Street for an intoxicated man who ordered a cheeseburger meal and, quote, a place to crash.
Nice.
Yeah.
Usually that's the bathroom.
Well, here's the deal. What about it? Space is at such a premium in especially the big cities. What if fast food restaurants create these little pod things where people could get a sandwich use the facility, and then sleep for 7 or 8 hours in a closet, like with the mop and the buckets and then the pink
They do
sawdust that
have
they use to
that.
clean the floor. You don't think that would be a nice
It's
little...
called the bathroom.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's an idea, right? Sort of brings the meaning to the word fishamajig, doesn't it? No, it doesn't. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. You could at least fake. You remember when you used to laugh at everything I said back when we were dating?
I'm trying to understand it. You're very,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah. What happened right there? You okay?
What?
No, you got like really like boop, like you fell into the phone for a moment. You okay?
Oh, maybe I did.
Hmm.
I'm coming down, David. I'm coming down. Where's
Maybe
my
you like this
Nebraska
one.
friend?
You, who are still, for however much longer, a gerontologist, might appreciate this one.
Okay.
Police responded to a mobile home park on
Ooh.
2nd Avenue for an old man with no shirt yelling at his neighbors.
Well, good for him.
Yeah. Isn't that the international symbol for motorhome parks? Is an
No, I
old guy with no shirt yelling?
I think it's broken lawn chairs and on the floor.
Hey, you kids, get off my asphalt lawn.
God bless him.
Well, I guess. Anyway.
If I'm old living in a hotel, what is it, mobile park? That's
Yeah.
rough.
Actually, if I were to do a movie about mobile homes,
Mm-hmm.
you know what the best part of the movie would be?
What?
The trailer.
I think, David, you need to come down.
Well, at least that joke went off without a hitch.
Oh.
I am so happy to have my rim shot back. I cannot tell you. By the way, welcome to Wayne and David and Blake and Frank and Jeffrey and all these folks who are tuning in to the Dave's Gone By Facebook, your podcast, your program, your of the stream. We're doing Greeley crimes and old times. Let's move rather desperately away from Greeley for a moment for a story. Every week we try and do one story that isn't from northern Colorado, that an odd news piece from somewhere else. And this comes to us from the Associated Press, Dateline, Chicago, Illinois. Are you ready for this one, hon?
Sure.
A Chicago lawmaker was on TV talking live with a news reporter on WBBM about a problem.
WBM?
Well, what I like about that station is the shows have a lot of movement.
You're on it.
I am. Well, come on, poop jokes. That's right. But
That's your bread and butter, yeah?
he's being interviewed, and the thing that he was talking about was one of the stations, one of the L train subway stations or rail stations in Chicago. Why? Because that station has been nicknamed Pigeon Poop Station because of all the bird mess that is there. Just birds and pigeons are incredibly attracted to that L stop on the Chicago line, and it's just a complete mess with bird effluence everywhere. So he's on TV, he's being interviewed. What do you think happened?
Uh-oh.
Take a guess.
Bird poop
Where?
on his face.
Yep, on him. He's being interviewed, this guy named Jaime Andrade, or Andrade. He's a congressman, state congressman from Chicago. He was on TV promising to clean up the Chicago rail system of bird poop when a pigeon crapped on his head.
But that's perfect.
Yeah, it really is. It's explaining the problem. He said he rubbed the top of his head and said, "I think they just got me."
I wouldn't say that. I would say that's, yeah.
Yeah,
I would
no,
say
I
I need
wouldn't
to
rub
get
the top
clean
of-
medically.
Yeah, probably want to leave it there instead of getting more of it on you. And it should be noted that the sidewalks outside Irving Park Station in Chicago are covered in bird waste and feathers. So Andrade's idea for fixing the problem, one of them includes installing a hose for power washing, which would be kind of cool.
Very good.
Yeah,
That's
actually. Yeah. Anyway,
that makes sense. Cheap solution.
So that's...
You go to Home Depot, you spend, what, $50 and you're good.
Yeah, you get a hose. Well, you need the real gusher, like a firefighter power thing.
Wow.
It's like giving a sidewalk an enema.
Ugh.
What? Well, it's the reverse. You're using enema to get rid of poop. Well, I guess you are normally, aren't you? An enema is getting rid of poop.
Yeah, but in the enema, things come out. In power washing, things go on, right?
Yeah, but here's the deal. Actually, it just occurred to me. So you've got bird crap everywhere, right? On the street, you got feathers, bird, blech, all over the station. So you put on the hose and you put on the power wash. And go, aren't you just moving it somewhere else? You're not actually getting rid of it? I mean, where does it go?
It's like when they do leaf blowing. I don't know where the leaves go.
I wonder, maybe it's just into the sewer system? If it goes into a grate, they just aim it. Yeah, it's not like
maybe they're going to get a big bucket.
Maybe. That could be.
And then they're going to dump all the stuff in the bucket.
Yeah. Well, that may be the most economical way to deal with stuff that comes from birds. And you know why? Because it's cheap.
Oh my God!
That's a little bird joke right there, ladies and gentlemen.
David, you need to come down.
Oh, Jeffrey says we figured out how to do on-screen mirroring. That sounds filthy. So we're now watching you on the big screen. Oh,
wow!
Yeah. Oh, I'm actually on TV now, just like Lucille Ball and just like Lucie Arnaz too. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I wore my pearls today.
Are you? Oh, you the one you found in the garbage?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't in the garbage. It was on the street near the pigeon poop.
Great.
Yesterday, I was walking home and I found these fake. I think they're fake. I'm rubbing them against my teeth here.
Don't do that if you found it in the garbage.
Too late. Too late.
You probably got the bird flu.
And now I got the bird AIDS.
You need to come down.
So I told Joyce about it. I said, hey, I found a string of pearls on the street. This is going to be my gift to you. And you were not impressed.
No.
You did not jump up and down and hug me and thank me and say what a wonderful husband I am. That's just, well, that's just sad. I'm sorry, that's just sad. Anywho, I'll get over it.
Aww.
Let's finish up Greeley crimes and old times here on Dave's Gone by Police in Greeley responded to an elementary school for a report of a person passed out on the playground equipment.
Wow, that's a hard school day. When you're 5 and you take NyQuil, it's hard.
I remember hearing. I think it was in Hewlett when we were growing up. That I didn't see this, but at Hewlett Elementary School or one of the junior high schools, about 30 years ago, some kids were coming to school in the morning and they found one of their classmates hanging.
What?
Yeah, I vaguely remember hearing about that. That one morning, some kid had hung himself from either the jungle gym or the swing set or something. Well, it was swinging, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, wow.
So this isn't as bad. This is just finding someone passed out on like the monkey bars. Again, I find that funny and I don't know why.
Because it's like something so out of place.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like the monkey bars aren't a place where you pass out. It's where you play and have fun.
And this is another one that I don't understand why I find it so funny, although it is an out of place kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Greeley police responded to Lakeside Drive for a completely naked man running around the cul-de-sac. I think the word cul-de-sac also works because he's got a sack flapping of his own.
Yeah, but also, like, why would you do it in a cul-de-sac? It's so suburban, you know?
And because it's got no exit. I can just imagine him running around and around in a circle going, whee! Like, hey, I'm naked. I'm running. Yeah, whee!
Maybe he was looking for the chick who's coming down.
Oh, that could be.
Where's my lady?
Let's do one more old-timey sort of a thing. Do I have one?
Okay.
Oh, here we go. In the primary election tomorrow, there are few rules. But one of them, this is how newspapers were cute back in the day. This is sort of almost editorializing. One rule is to root for your favorite candidate until the votes are counted and then explain how he was double-crossed.
I like that.
It's actually pretty good.
It's clever.
Yeah. Oh, them clever writers back then.
It's kind of cool.
Now we're all following, well, you're not following, but people who follow baseball, they're tuning in this week because the Yankees just wrapped up the pennant Took them a while.
Okay.
They got their 100th win, and on that date, they also sewed up the pennant in the American League. And the Mets still not out of it. The Mets are close to being out of it, but it's 2 weeks left, not even. And the Mets are still technically in it and fighting
Are they
for
still?
that.
David, are they still a team?
Basically, yeah. Basically, somehow they're still hanging together. So here's the deal. 100 years ago, the Boston Red Sox became the World Series champions, beating the Chicago Cubs 2-1.
The Cubbies.
The winning pitcher was someone named May, who held the Cubs at bay by pitching underhand.
Whoa.
I
That's
can't even.
softball.
Yeah, right? Can you imagine back 100 years ago in the World Series, someone was going like underhand? I guess
it throws them off.
Yeah, it would. It really would. It's just kind of, you're not seeing when the arm is coming, and suddenly there's all this motion and boom, coming at you. I don't know. I just find that curious and rather fascinating. Maybe that's just me. Or maybe I just have an underhanded style.
Wow.
All right, sneak that one in there. Let's do one more and end our Greeley Crimes of All Time segment. What do we got here? This is a good one to stop. Hun, are you ready? I'm gonna get our friend here to help. This is gonna be good. Here we go. Because not only do I have potatoes here, it's a chicken alert. Chicken alert. Ladies and gentlemen.
Jason.
We have a story about
crazy.
It's exciting. We talk so much about potatoes. Chickens have kind of gotten the short end of the stick here. And we were talking about pigeons before. They felt left out. We do have a chicken alert. Police responded to 10th Avenue Court for a man driving golf balls into his neighbor's yard.
What?
Which is difficult to do because you have to take all these golf balls, put them in your back seat, drive them over, and then So he's swinging, sending all these golf balls.
Did he do baby seats for the golf balls?
Oh, I like that. That's kind of sweet. Yeah. How many could he do at a time, by the way?
4.
Yes, you got it. Well done, dear. But here's the deal.
But it was an aggressive action, I think.
Was it really?
Isn't it?
What do you mean an aggressive action?
Like your neighbor's lawn, so yard. So you're aiming in it, right?
Oh, well, yeah, no, it was a totally nasty neighbor thing to do. To be sending. I mean, this is not like children playing ball in the yard and the ball keeps hopping over the fence. This is like a grown-up sending golf balls, which go about however many 80 miles an hour or something like that, into his neighbor's yard. Well, the neighbor was not happy about this. The man threatened to kill the. I'm sorry. This is. So the guy's driving golf balls into his neighbor, a woman's yard. Okay. The woman started complaining to him. So the man threatened to kill the caller's chickens when she asked him to stop. What kind of neighborhood is this?
This is rough. That's mean.
You got like one guy next door. He's like a CEO. He's putting. He's
golfing.
And the other one is they're raising chickens in the other yard. And the golf balls are falling in, and the birds are going berserk.
And the chickens are like a source of like argument. Like they're going to kill them. I mean, that's awful.
I know, isn't it? Oh man.
Oh, I just watched a show with my friend about. What's the monster that kills chickens in Puerto Rico and Mexico?
Chupacabra?
Chupacabra.
Yeah.
He should just send over a Chupacabra to take care of the chickens.
He should. I have no Chupacabra jokes.
Oh.
None.
Chewy, cabra.
Something, yeah. Cabra. How you make magic with a chicken-killing monster?
How?
Abracadabra, no.
It's cute.
No, it's not. It's horrible. It's just horrible. And what an appropriate way to end this segment of Greeley Crimes and Old Times here on Dave's Gone By. We've got so much more coming up, but let's end this segment properly.
Mr. Horace Greeley was no fool. I'm sure that you'll agree with me that Greeley was no fool.
What he is getting at is that Mr. Greeley was no fool. Yippee-yi, 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 yippee-yi.
The chicken is mad.
Well, the guy's threatening his family.
Yeah,
The
I
chickens
know.
yeah. Well, are there male?
Chickens are very loyal.
Are all chickens female unless they're roosters? Is that the deal?
Roosters are, hens are girls.
Hens are girls. So a chicken has to be a girl. But
I would think so.
a rooster, is a rooster a chicken or is it a rooster?
I don't know. It's probably slang.
Yeah, I don't even, wow. Now I'm completely lost. But you're not lost, folks, because you're watching the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the stream live on this Saturday morning, September 21st, 2019. I'm Dave Lefkowitz. Been talking to my darling and wonderful wife, Joyce. Remember that coming up, we have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned devoted to Meeker, Colorado. We have Storytime with more of Why Fish Fart. We're going to go inside Broadway for news and reviews of New York theater. And we're also going to have our My Sick Mind segment dedicated to the late Rick Ocasek. And did I get everything? Oh, and of course, Rabbi Sol Solomon will be interviewing Lucie Arnaz, the actress, later in
That's so
the program.
cool.
Yeah, isn't it? So, hon, do you want to hang?
Let me let you go, David. You do your show, baby.
Okay, because we're going to do the today-yesterday segment, the quiz segment. Do you want
You
to
know
try?
I can't do that.
Oh, yeah, you don't like the trivia thing. Well, love you, sweetie. Thank you
Love
so
you
much
too.
for calling in.
Have a good show.
Can you maybe go, I know Potato Day was last week, but can you at least go to the field where it was?
I went there in my mind,
Yeah.
and then I came down.
Oh, I'm making the heart sign for my wonderful, adorable wife, ladies and
David,
gentlemen.
you know what I did? I went to the Potato Island King Soopers, and I talked with them.
Oh, what do they have to say?
They said they want to be at Potato Day and not be in the Potato Island King Soopers.
Hey, what is a potato's favorite month?
I don't know.
October.
On that happy note.
On that happy note, wait, one more potato wants to say hi.
Sure.
Hi! So there's just more coming out of the box. That's so cool. Ooh. And by the way, when Rabbi Sol is going to be talking with Lucie Arnaz later in the show, it is not brought to you by esrogim.com. I love this. And it's an ad that was in one of the local newspapers here. It tells you what kind of neighborhood we're in. esrogim.com, serving the Jewish community for over 40 years.
Did you get me an etrog?
Oh, we do have an etrog and lulav. We have the felt ones that I'll bring out, and I felt them several times. If you know what I'm saying.
Well, David, remember when we got the real one and you had that cut? Yeah.
What?
You can't. They're too sharp.
Oh! The lulav or the etrog was?
Both of them.
Both of them. That's true. And by the way, esrogim.com, they also make sukkahs. And I'm sorry, the whole idea. Jews will find their way around things to live in the modern world, but make it so ridiculously modern that it's already far away from the original idea.
Is it like a tiny house?
Well, you know what a sukkah is, right?
It's supposed to be like I don't think it has walls. It's supposed to have a ceiling and posts, right?
Well, the ceiling is you're supposed to see through it. It's supposed to be sort of thatchy.
Yeah.
So that you can kind of see the sky through.
And you hang fruit and stuff.
Yes. It's a harvesty, outsidey kind of holiday. When you go into the sukkah, you eat, you say some prayers, and then you get the hell out.
Bees.
Yeah, and you get attacked by bees.
Yeah.
So, but now everything is a big industry, and it comes out. Look at the sukkahs. I know you're not on.
David, it's because people are lazy or they don't have time and they just want to buy a sukkah.
But I mean, you want a she shed? This is better than a she shed here.
I want a tiny house.
Look at it. They have new wood sukkahs, fiberglass with wood panel sukkahs, bamboo mats and pole decorations, and even portable sukkahs with easy lock, like tents that you see in a MASH
unit. Why do you need a portable sukkah? You're going to take it on the subway?
Well, imagine.
You're going to take your sukkah. Where would you take it?
Can you imagine when you're taking a sukkah out on the subway? You start distributing like fruit to everybody on the. No, but this idea of maybe people go on the road, they're taking a road trip. Come on, family, we're gonna bring the sukkah with us wherever we go.
What? Yeah, but what, you put on like a water ski? I mean, where are you gonna put your sukkah?
Well, actually,
That's
on the
weird.
beach would be a really cool place to have it if you think about it. Wouldn't it be great to be on like Jones Beach?
You get
or Long Beach?
abrasion from the sand.
But I mean, this is ridiculous. It's like already living in a little tiny house.
I know.
Well, they
Rich people.
call them to consult with a sukkah expert. I can't believe I'm doing an ad for them, but
Ooh.
this is I find this so wonderfully funny. In a
I
lovely
wonder
way.
how you become a sukkah expert.
I guess. Well, life suckers, and then you die.
Oh.
On that note, my darling
Okay, honey,
eternal
love
wife,
you.
thank you for joining us in the Daverhood. I love you. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
God willing, I'll see you in a couple of days.
Yeah.
It's been weeks. It's been weeks since I've seen my wonderful wife, Joyce, in person. Maybe you guys will get to see. When you come back, will you ever go on camera and show everybody how cute you are?
Maybe.
Ladies and gentlemen, my wonderful wife, Joyce, thanks for joining me today in the Daverhood. Love you, sweetie.
Love you too.
Okay, have a good one.
Bye.
Joyce talking to us and spending the first part of the Dave's Gone By program with us. By the way, if you want to find out more about Dave's Gone By, you know how to do it. We've got a website, davesgoneby.com. That is where the archives reside of every show, just about, that we've ever done, going all the way back to October of 2002, is at davesgoneby.com. Most of them, I mean, it's a podcast, it's a radio show. They're audio, they're MP3s. You can download them, you can stream them. The past year, or 2 years now, it's been video as well. So you get the video and the audio, a separate archive of all the wonderful guests that we've had on the show, and it's all there and really easy to search and find stuff at davesgoneby.com. Remember, you can also drop me messages right here during the show or during the week on this Facebook page, Dave's Gone By, or email me the old-fashioned way, davesgoneby@aol.com. And I even have a Twitter feed, Radio Dave 2, Radio Dave, the number 2. Lots of ways to stay in touch with the program, find out what we're doing, and to make it even more interactive. Now, speaking of interactivity, this is our segment that was supposed to be just a quiz where I answer questions or I ask questions, and then you guys at home try and come up with the answer and see if you can do it. Fine. But what's kind of cool is it's neat that we're having people now play along and put up the answer. And you're trying to beat usually Cynthia and Jeff. They play the game, and they try and be the first who are coming up with the answer to these trivia questions. It's our yesterday quiz. Let me get the music started on that. Hold on. But yeah, and what I'll do is I'll give about 8 or 9 questions that have to do with today in history, September 21st. Well, yes, that's kind of the idea. Try and find the answer by yourself. So no fair Googling, no fair wikiing and binging and whatever else. And that's part of the whole trivia thing. It's got to be, sometimes they're easy questions, and then you start racking your brain and like, I know this. It's on the tip of my tongue, and yet. And we all know this. So try and have fun and play this game with us. It's called Today, Yesterday, and it begins like this. Today, yesterday, 1348. Okay, and there was a September 21st, 1348, with the plague raging across Europe. Who was an easy scapegoat? I'll answer that one. The Jews, of course. And on this date, several Jews were burned to death, and the rest were expelled because they were blamed for poisoning wells that then created the bubonic plague. In what city did this occur on this date? September 21st, 1348. I'm going to give you a multiple choice on this one. Was it Barcelona, Zurich, Munich, London? So on this date in 1348, because all across various continents, Jews have taken crap for centuries, obviously. So stuff happened in lots and lots of places. But on this particular date, there was a myth promulgated against the Jews that they poisoned the wells. And that's why tens of thousands of people were dying of the Black Death. So where did they burn Jews, torture Jews, and expel Jews on this date back in 1348? Was it Barcelona? I'll do it the Manuel way. Barcelona, Zurich, Munich, or London? And we seem to have an answer. I didn't bring the countdown bell, but here we go. The answer is, and I was kind of shocked by this, Zurich, Switzerland. We had Cynthia chimed in with Barcelona. No, it wasn't. It was a place that you wouldn't think. That's one of the reasons I had this question. Because we always think, oh, the Netherlands and the Swedes and the Dutch, and they were always so nice to the Jews and neutral and not back in the day. In Zurich. As a matter of fact, they tortured Jews beforehand to confess that they poisoned the well. It was like, did you poison the well? No, I didn't put the rack on them and some of the torture devices that we were talking about last week in Why Fish Fart. And they did this in friggin' Switzerland, right? All those years ago, there were riots and murders against Jews throughout the Black Plague all over Europe. It just never occurred to me that even those northerly countries that are supposed to be so even-handed and fair and nice to other cultures were just as bad. Go figure. What a fun way to start our Today, Yesterday quiz. Well, let's go on to the next one. Today, Yesterday, 1780. This American military man met with a British major and made a deal. He would get money and a good rank in the English army. The major would get control of a fort at West Point on the Hudson River. Who made this deal? Okay, this is back in 1780. American military man met with a British major, and together they made a deal. Whom am I talking about? Think about it for a moment while I go change the dog's diaper. Keep thinking. Maybe I'll change the dog's diaper. I've got the diaper ready, just so you know. Just so I'm doing my job as a parent. So I'll get him after the next question. Waiting for an answer here about this American military person back in 1780. That's kind of a clue right there. The date, the year of this. Met with an English major, and for a period of time, I think I was an English major. Let me play this. Thank you so much, Cynthia, Jeff. I'm kind of waiting on an answer here. I can't keep this going that much longer. I'm going to give a 5, 4, 3. Okay, we have an answer, and the answer is correct. Well done, Cynthia and Jeff. The answer is Benedict Arnold, General Benedict Arnold. What happened was he made this deal. He met with his major. The major was captured and killed by the Yankees, by the American Army, not the Mets, just the Yankees. Arnold got away. He was able to go to England, and he never quite got all the stuff that he was promised in the deal, but he did end up living like 20 years in England, doing other stuff for the English Army and the Crown. The only good part is that he lived long enough to see America start rising up in the world while the English Empire started to sink. So, yep, General Benedict Arnold, the ultimate turncoat, he really was. For some reason, I conflated him with like Nathan Hale or some of these other folks who were hung and killed and executed, but he wasn't. He went on to live comfortably in England for a while. Anyway, moving on to our third question in our Today, Yesterday quiz. September 21st, 1794. Although he was murdered in July, on this date, the bones of radical journalist Jean-Paul Marat were transferred to the Pantheon Mausoleum in Paris. His political ally and friend, a controversial novelist known for his amoral sexual writing and lifestyle, gave the eulogy. Name him. Rather convoluted question there, but think about it. So, bones were moved on this date and reburied for a radical journalist named Jean-Paul Marat in France. His friend who gave the eulogy was known for being even more controversial in certain ways, both in his writing and in his life. Who was that? You think about that while I diaper a dog. Come on, boy. Up we go. Up we go. Come on. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, a little bit ooky. Hold on. Think about it, folks. Take your time. I'll be right there, folks. It's taking longer than I thought. There you go. Not too bad. His old diaper was relatively clean, just so you know. Okay, do we have an answer? We don't have an answer yet. Chicken, do you have an answer? Well, let me put it this way. Maybe I can give sort of a hint. Certain chicken seems to be made for certain kind of rather naughty activities. Theater folks, here's a real clue. When you think about this guy, Jean-Paul Marat, he was in a popular but very experimental theater piece in the late 1960s that involved both of these folks, both of these friends. And of course, Marat was assassinated, and that was captured in a very famous painting. All right, I'm gonna have to call it in the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, folks. 5, 4, 3. Okay, all right, well, I guess I've stumped the panel on this one. The answer is that the writer and libertine, I guess you could say, who was a friend of Jean-Paul Marat, was the Marquis de Sade. So the guy who created sadism, or he didn't create it, but we give the word sadism to. He wrote politically and socially, but also very pornographically, sexually, and was known for living what he wrote. He tried everything, including stuff involving pain and domination, and spent a lot of time in both prisons and asylums. And his eulogy, he gave the eulogy for his friend, the radical journalist Jean-Paul Marat, on this date. And the play I'm talking about, very long full title, it's like The Assassination and Persecution of Jean-Paul Marat, as performed by the Marquis de Sade at Charenton Asylum. So the play that was done, and I think Glenda Jackson was in the original London version of the Peter Weiss play. But the whole idea was that they staged this assassination in an asylum, and the Marquis de Sade did actually do plays when he was locked up in asylums. But anyway. All right, so I think we're 1 for 2 so far. These are a little tough so far in our Today, Yesterday quiz. Let's move on. Today, yesterday, 1827. On this date, allegedly, an angel appeared to this man and gave him 3 gold plates, one of which the man transcribed religiously. Name him and his contribution to literature. Okay? So this was the date, September 21st. In 1827, a guy got some gold plates, and I don't mean they were dishes from Melmac. I mean gold plates with writing on them that he then spent a lot of time transcribing and then giving to the world. What did he do? Who was he? What did he do? I'll be right back while you think of that. La, 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 la. Ah, here I finally have it. Okay. Do we have, I'm wondering if we have a really long delay on the video on this. I'm not sure, but taking a while for the folks to, do you want to take a guess on this? Because I'm gonna, part of this is the timing, to think about it a little bit and get it in time. We're going to read the question one more time and then give the answer. On this date, an angel appeared to this man and gave him 3 gold plates, one of which the man transcribed religiously, named him and his contribution to literature. We have an answer from Cynthia and Jeff. I'll give you a half a point on that one. You got the first name wrong. This is why people who play Jeopardy they answer with the last name only, because they lose if they get part of the name right. It is Smith. It's Joseph Smith, not John Smith. And of course, Cynthia is saying that it's the LDS, it's the Mormons and the Book of Mormon that he ended up writing. Apparently there were 3 plates and he kept 2 of them because those were direct from God and really secret and important. And really the Book of Mormon is only the last, who knows? But no, it's not, wait, Roger, who is Roger Smith? Wait, am I wrong? Is it, why did I say Joseph? Is it, it was, now I'm confused. Was it Roger Smith or Joseph Smith? Smith? Now I'm the one who has to Google. I was real tired when I was doing these last night. It was Joseph Smith. Who is Roger Smith? I'm going to find out in a moment. He was an actor. Okay. Don't know who Roger Smith is. Anyway, so, all right, we're moving forward, but okay, good job so far. I think you guys are, that was our 4th question, and I think we've got about 1.5. Well, all right, well, you'll get better. You'll get better. Let's see how we do on our 5th question in our Today-Yesterday quiz. Today-Yesterday, 1897. The New York Sun printed the most famous and reprinted editorial in newspaper history. The editorial answered a reader's question in the affirmative. What was the reader's name and who was he or she asking about? On this date, the New York Sun published an editorial that has remained the most popular editorial of all time and has been reprinted more than any other editorial in history, in the English language anyway. Who, what, where, when, what. So give that a little bit of thought. Aha! We have a guess, and what was this person asking about? What did this person want to know? I'm gonna, because I know Cynthia and Jeff have it. There you go. All right, we're gonna give a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown. We have an answer. Oh, yeah, that sounded bad. Let's do this. And I apologize. We have. I've got to turn off the construction work still across the way. Okay. But the answer, yes, you did get it right. On this, you would figure it had been in like November or December, but no, it was September 21st in 1897 that a columnist for the New York Sun answered a letter to the editor from a girl named Virginia asking, what about Santa Claus? Is he real? Because her fellow students at school were saying no, and that she was a baby for believing in it. And he wrote this very, very loving and humanistic and sweet letter saying, yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus, and he stands for goodness, and he stands for all the things that we want to be to. And I feel really bad and sorry for the folks who don't want to believe in Santa and all. And it was a really nice letter that is reprinted always in the holidays, and that is part of what the Goyim believe is the Christmas spirit. It becomes part of that time of year. Some interesting stuff, though, that they said in Wikipedia about it. First of all, that it was printed on September 21st. I guess she was thinking of her Christmas gifts early. And then also that line, yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus, is not the first line of the reply. It actually is the first line of the second paragraph of the editorialist's reply. And here's the real interesting thing. First of all, it's, I had the guy who wrote this reply to her, a fellow named Francis Church, was apparently a real cynic and an atheist, and did not want to reply to this letter. He was essentially tasked it by the publisher and by his superiors. He said, answer this girl's man. He's like, oh, come on. And so the least likely person to write a very it isn't really religious per se, but this pro-holiday, pro-spiritual, childlike thing is the last guy to actually believe it, which tells you everything that you need to know. And it's kind of this very weird mind game that's going on also. Well, and the fakery that is show business, because when you read Virginia's letter, it becomes kind of clear that she probably asked her dad about Santa Claus. And then in the writing of her letter, you can sort of see that it's actually her dad writing the letter to the editor and then trying to make it sound like it's from her. It's like, my little friends are telling me that there's no Santa. Like, yeah. So you've got this this middle-aged man pretending to be a little girl, writing to an atheist who hates holidays and children, who is pretending to be really nice and sweet about a holiday and a guy who doesn't exist. How's that for a mind game right there? All about the Yes, Virginia letter. There is a Santa Claus. That was first published today in history back in 1897. All right, Cynthia and Jeff, you're doing better now. I'm not hearing from Tony. I imagine he has to work this morning and can't really listen. But anyway, we got some more questions for you. Yesterday, 1915, Cecil Chubb, that's his name, Cecil Chubb paid £6,000 for this prehistoric English monument. Name it. Doo-doo-doo. Or maybe he was Cecil Chubb. Maybe that's how they pronounce it over there. Cecil Chubb paid a little bit more than £6,000 for this particular English monument. What is it? And if an English monument comes to mind while you're thinking of the answer, it's probably correct. While I have a little sip. And we're welcoming Claudia to the podcast here. Welcome, Claudia. We're going to get an answer here. And I'm going to give a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so back on September 21st, 1915, Cecil Chubb coughed up £6,000, which was like $300,000 back then, just for poops and giggles, because he wanted to buy this prehistoric English monument. Cynthia is guessing that it's Cleopatra's obelisk. No, this is an English thing. He bought Stonehenge. Who knew that? Bought from the English government or held on to it for only about 3 years, and then ended up selling it back or giving it back to the English government. And now it's a tourist spot, and whatever money raised goes to the UK. But it's kind of interesting that back then you could just buy and sell Stonehenge for £6,000 was a lot of money back then. 104 years ago. But anyway, okay. So Cynthia and Jeff sometimes have their arguments together where they don't agree. So that was probably Jeff's answer. And Cynthia's saying, oh, she got it. Cynthia, we'll see. Let's do our next. She says, I have to stop listening to Jeff. Let's see which of you gets this one right. 1937. September 21st, winner of a prize from the New York Herald Tribune for juvenile fiction. This classic novel was first published. on this date in 1937. Scholars note that the author's experiences in World War I helped shape this epic adventure. Was it, and this is going to be a multiple choice, here we go. Was it on 1937 the first date of publication for Watership Down, The Hardy Boys, The Tower Treasure, The Shape of Things to Come by H.G. Wells, or The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien? So give that some thought. Today, back in 1937, was the first date of publication for this story, this fantastical adventure story. Was it Watership Down, The Hardy Boys, Tower Treasure, the very first Hardy Boys book, The Shape of Things to Come, or The Hobbit? Let me know. Let me know your thoughts. And I'm going to give it a couple more seconds while you think about it and take a guess. You got 1 out of 4 here to guess what was published on this date only about 90 years ago, or 80-something years ago. Gonna start. And the answer, good guess, Cynthia and Jeff. It was The Hobbit, the first in the Ring series that J.R.R. Tolkien was doing. That was probably, I somehow, I don't know why I thought The Hobbit was much older than that, but it's not. Watership Down is a pretty new book. That was in 1972. The Hardy Boys, it's amazing to think about it, but the Hardy Boys are older than The Hobbit. That The Tower Treasure, that first Franklin W. Dixon book, was written in 1927. And then the H.G. Wells book, that was in 1933. So there you go. Well done, Cynthia. I think you guys are up to about 500 now for your batting average. Let's see how you do on our last 2 questions. On September 21st, 1957, CBS TV debuted this drama series about a defense attorney originally created by novelist Earl Stanley Gardner. Name the title character and the show's star who played that character. Okay, this is back on 1957 that this first debuted. Well, no, I'll wait a moment on this. A legal procedural, shall we say, based on books by Earl Stanley Gardner. I'm going to give it a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And oh boy, okay, now they're heating up. Cynthia and Jeff are getting it. They are correct on both counts. It was Perry Mason, which debuted in 1957 on this date on TV, and yes, the lead actor, Raymond Burr. So well done. And he stayed with it for several seasons, and then they had the TV movie sort of thing that they did with him as well, before he also did Ironsides and some other legal stuff. So yay, well done. All right, we got one more. I think you're now over 500. I think you're rocking it, Cynthia and Jeff. Let's see if you get this one. Oh, and here, people, maybe you can get Marat Sade, but let's see if you get this one. Although David Mamet's roots are in Chicago theater, and his most famous play reached Broadway in 1984, this famous play actually debuted in London on this date in 1983. Okay, I'm going to give a hint in a moment, but let that marinate. David Mamet play. This is probably, arguably, his most famous play. First hit Broadway in 1984. But the weird thing about this play is that it did not debut on or off Broadway. It didn't even debut in Chicago. It debuted in London. What was it? First hint is that it did win the Pulitzer Prize in 1984, because it's essentially an American play, even though it debuted across the pond. And then I'll give one more hint. We have an answer, but I'm going to give another hint for the folks who are still cogitating. This comedy drama has an all-male cast. But a Broadway revival that is going to be happening in 2020 or 2021 is going to be directed by a woman and feature an all-female cast for the first time. I am, of course, talking about Glengarry Glen Ross, which debuted today, September 21st, 1983. And so, how'd you guys do? I think Cynthia and Jeff, you got something like 5 out of 9, or even 5.5 out of 9. Nicely done. Hope you guys had fun. This is our today-yesterday quiz. Kind of stretches, some seem easy, and then we start to reach for it, it's gone. And some are easy, and then some are quite a bit tougher. So I hope you enjoy every week our today-yesterday quiz on Dave's Gone By. Now, since we've been talking about the theater and Broadway and Glengarry Glen Ross and Marasad, let's stay with a theatrical theme and do our weekly salute to Broadway and the theater. We call it Inside Broadway. Inside Broadway, a look at theater on and off Broadway and beyond. Brought to you by Total Theater and Performing Arts Insider. Curtain going up. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, curtain going up on our Inside Broadway segment. We do this every week because I've been a writer, a playwright, a director, an actor, a theater professor, as well as a journalist and critic. I mean, if it's had to do anything with the theater, I've even helped paint sets and flats, although I was not good at that. But I've been on all sides of the theater, love it to pieces, go to see a lot of theater when I can. And so that is why we're doing our weekly Inside Broadway segment where I talk about news of the Rialto and also review some stuff. So, hey, biggest thing of all for commercial theater, an announcement was made this week that they've set the day and place of the 74th annual Tony Awards, and it's going to be happening on Sunday. They try and do the first Sunday in June, and it will be. It's going to be June 7th, 2020. It's going to be back in Radio City Music Hall again. It will also again be broadcast on CBS TV, all of it, all 3 hours live from 8 to 11 Eastern Time. Again, unfortunately, if you're not in New York, they do an hour tape delay. I have no idea why the hell they do that. The nominations are going to be announced on April 24th after a cutoff date of April 23rd, which means that if a show wants to be considered for Tony Awards, it has to have opened on or before April 23rd of next year. Hey, here's a little quiz for you. Since we've just been in quiz mode, do you remember any of the winners of the Tony Awards just from this past June? It's only been summertime. And so when I asked myself, I'm like, of course, and I realized, oh my God, I had it in my head so much back in April and May and June. And then you just say, hey, who won the Tony Awards this past year? 2019, June, who won? Who were the big winners? Huh? It kind of flies out of your head. Well, I'll remind you. The one that I did remember, musical Hadestown won Best Musical, beating out Tootsie. And then what else? The Best Play very deservedly went to The Ferryman by, I'm sorry, I've forgotten his name, Jez Butterworth. And then in terms of the revivals, it was The Boys in the Band revival won the Tony, and the rather new-fangled revival of Oklahoma won Best Revival Tony last year. But anyway, Tony news, right? And as I recall, for many years, you wouldn't find out about the Tonys until February. So it's kind of cool that they're announcing it so early, that it's going to be first Sunday in June, usual time, usual place, usual station. Be there or be square. Hey, we were just talking about David Mamet and Glengarry Glen Ross. Well, they're postponing that a season. And there was talk that they were going to bring in that all-female Glengarry Glen Ross this year to Broadway with Patti LuPone, but that's not off the table, but the producers are concentrating on something else. Turns out what they're concentrating on is a revival of American Buffalo, the second most famous David Mamet play. And they're going to be reviving it. It's going to open on Broadway on April 14th. They haven't been able to announce the theater yet. They probably have one picked out. But at least they've chosen the date. It's going to be directed by Neil, and I believe it's pronounced Neil Pepe, P-E-P-E, who has been part of the Atlantic Theater Company for many years, where David Mamet was very important for a long time. Anyway, the stars of this American Buffalo are going to be Lawrence Fishburne, and it's been over a decade since he's been on Broadway. He was in Thurgood, very good one-man show back in 2008, and you remember him from Apocalypse Now and Pulp Fiction. Lawrence Fishburne, man, and Sam Rockwell is going to be in the show too. His name has vaulted into, well, I don't know if he's household name status, but thanks to 7 billboards outside Ebbing, he's much more well known, Sam Rockwell is. And he was also on Broadway in the Fool for Love revival in 2014. The last American Buffalo, which was not very good, starred John Leguizamo. Before that, Al Pacino, who had done it originally off Broadway, he brought it to Broadway. So it's kind of going to be interesting to see how this American Buffalo does, because Mamet's having that Neil Simon problem. Late-ish in Mamet's playwriting career, he's had trouble having hits. His new plays haven't gone that well. They've really been badly reviewed flops. And although his revivals of Glengarry have done pretty darn well, and they keep reviving Glengarry, Glen Ross every 6, 7, 8 years. And as I said last week, ordinarily I'd be poo-pooing this, oh, American Buffalo again, don't we all know this play, what's the point? Well, I would have said that about Betrayal, the Harold Pinter play, in their reviving that again. Until I saw the Harold Pinter play, and I'm like, oh, this is real good. So maybe magic will strike again with American Buffalo. Now, speaking of things magical and mystical and illusory and illusional, I did see a show on Broadway this week at the Court Theater, something called Darren Brown Secret. I can't really talk that much about it because as audiences, we are sworn to secrecy, and you don't want to give it away. For people who want to see this show, and it's quite entertaining, who want to see Darren Brown, Secret, I'm not going to say any particulars of what he does. I will say that it's not, like all of these folks, is not all that different from the very basic, was this your card? Everything is a long and very complex variation on that theme of either trickery, of knowing what your card is, or having this and having something ready, like the answer to a question is going to be inside of this, which is inside of that, which is tied up with a bow on it in New Jersey. And then someone on video opens the box in New Jersey and there it is, there's the answer. It's that kind of thing, which he does very well. He's very personable, very entertaining, very conversational. So he does mind-related stuff, guessing what's on your mind to an extent, or using the probabilities of the way people speak, and of course their nonverbal communication, the way their nose points, or the way their eyes look when they're asked a certain question, or the way they tilt their heads. All of that is the kind of thing that he has studied for years and uses to kind of predict, which hand is something in when someone's holding it, or what are they going to be really thinking of, or how are they going to behave in a certain situation. So it's a lot of audience interaction, some level of not really mind control, but mind prediction that he does. It's a very, as I said, entertaining show. 2.5 hours of it is a little much, so that by the time we get to the finale, we're like, okay, but the finale is great. He tops himself, and then tops himself, and then tops himself. And you're just sitting there going, oh, okay. When he reveals a reveal behind a reveal behind another reveal, that is quite wonderful and worth staying for. I just wish the second act had more laughs. It's a little more subdued, and well, it's called Darren Brown's Secret. If you love magic shows, if you like these mind-reading things on Broadway, which have been done, and if you know that these folks, these psychics who get on TV and somehow magically know the names of cousins and relatives and what they died of and what their favorite color was, and you know it's all BS, but you want to see it done really well by a guy who is not saying that it's real. He tells you, I'm going to lie to you about a couple of things. And I'm going to use certain signals and clues and things from you. And no, I've never met any of you before. Nobody here is a plant. And yet there are certain ways to figure out stuff about you that you're going to wonder, how the hell does he know that? Well, this is what he does. And he does it very well at the Court Theater. It opened last week. I went to see it. And it's running until January 4th, 2020. So you have a few weeks to see Darren Brown Secret. It ran back in 2017, speaking of the Atlantic Theater off-Broadway. So now they brought it to Broadway. It won the Drama Desk Award for Unique Theatrical Experience. Yeah, so I would give it 3.25 stars, add a quarter, or even more, if this is really your kind of thing. Because it's very well done. Darren Brown's Secret on Broadway. Well, I've got something that isn't a secret at all. In fact, it divulges all the secrets and all the necessary information that you need if you care about Broadway, off Broadway. Of course, I am talking about Performing Arts Insider, magazine, journal, the Bible of Broadway since 1944. Here is the mid-month issue for September. Let me move this out of the way. There it is. So notice, right here, shows on the cover. These are the mid-month issues are not in color because these are updates. This is like, if you really need to know up to the minute information about all the shows playing in New York, you not only subscribe to the monthly edition, the 12 issues a year, you get it 21 times a year with like the further, most up-to-date information you can get. But like every issue, it's got a guide to the current Broadway season with all the shows that are running from previous seasons, opening this season, and even into next season, a little guide to the Broadway Theater District. And then we've got a guide to all the theaters, where they're located, what's playing in them and for how long, and who owns them and how many seats they have, a guide to all the press agents who handle the shows, a day-by-day calendar listing of when shows start previews, open, and close on Broadway, as well as off and off Broadway. You can't get that anywhere else. So what is today? Today is September 21st. Look at this. Oh my God, a ton of shows ending today. One show opening, The Invention of Tragedy, a Mac Wellman play, is opening at the Flea Theater off Broadway today, and it's running until October 14th. I don't know that off the top of my head. I got it right here. And then all these shows closing on this date. Eureka Day, which I just saw a week or so ago. I won't have time to talk about today. But anyway, I'll talk about it very quickly. If you have, I think, 3 more chances to see the off-Broadway show Eureka Day, and it's about parents, or it's about teachers at a private school debating the vaccination versus anti-vaccination movement and what that means to them personally and to the rest of the school. It's funny. It's very smart. It's a good show. Eureka Day. Go see it. Sorry for not doing a longer review of it. And I didn't realize it was closing so soon. But it's Eureka Day. Decky Does a Bronco is closing today. Laughing Liberally, Looking at You, Magic Agency, Chapter 4, it's at La Mama, Sell by Date, See You, Tech Support, all of these, and that's just today, and that's just letting you know, all the productions closing off and off Broadway today. We also get a guide to regional theater in New York State, shows that are playing at BAM, or maybe they're playing on Long Island or upstate New York. We have a list of those. And we have, of course, our comprehensive listing of every show on Broadway, of the name, the people involved, how to contact them, all the producers, the theater, the synopsis of the show, the dates that it's running, every single piece of information that you need. So folks who subscribe to Performing Arts Insider, they certainly involve actors and directors and producers and owners of theaters across the country, people who book guests for radio shows and TV shows. It is the industry Bible of Broadway performing arts insider since 1944. And you can get either a single issue, subscribe to the monthly plan, or the full season plan by going to performingartsinsider.com. Performingartsinsider.com. It's a rather expensive journal, but folks who subscribe renew year after year because it's the only place they can get this info. Performingartsinsider.com. It is the Bible of Broadway. Well, speaking of Broadway, we are in our Inside Broadway segment. Nope, not going to deal with that yet. Let's see. We're going to move on with, another review. And this one is a solo show. Like I saw a few days ago, that was playing at the Cherry Lane Theater. I proved popular enough that they moved it now to the Lucille Lortel Theater, and it features a comedian and writer named Jacqueline Novak. Jacqueline Novak, and her show is called Get on Your Knees. I'm going to be nice as possible and PG as possible, even though I've been R and X rated on this program. But let's just say this is about her sexual awakening as a person involving one particular physical sexual act that she wanted to do, but then in her opportunities to do it, she kind of backed off and wasn't sure. And then the whole show, which is about 85 minutes long, is about her getting comfortable doing this act, what that means to her as a woman, what that means to us as a culture of these times. I don't want to say more. I can't really say more if there might be children watching. But the idea is, it's kind of an empowering thing. It's also, she's a comedian. So it's about making jokes and using the words and the naughty language and tons of comical metaphors and phrases that go along with the object, the female object down there, and everything having to do with oral sex and blowjobs and stuff. Very entertaining. Here's the deal. Some critics have complained, and she even mentions in the show, that one critic said that she talks about the subject to the point of tedium. I mean, it's never tedious, but there's a lot that comes at you very quickly. You think I talk fast? you think I throw a lot of stuff at you very quickly? She gets on stage, and if you think Richard Lewis paces a lot when he does his act, all she does, she just goes back and forth on the stage like a metronome, just pacing, almost kind of looking down, stopping a while to do a funny expression or to do some kind of physicalization, and then back and forth, and she's talking really, really quickly. And it's tough because she talks intricately, and she uses very, very juicy, there's an adjective I don't want to use, but very involved language when she's talking about this activity. So there isn't that much time to savor. A joke or a funny phrase will come at you, and before you can even laugh, there's more words just tumbling out of her. It's her style. It is what she does, and it would be churlish to say, oh, well, you should change your style. You should stand still more. You should look at the audience and let the joke land, and then pace when you need to and stop more when you need to, and slow down and maybe cut some of the dialogue out of the show, but leave the show at the same length, just leave a little more time and go a little more slowly so we can digest what you're saying instead of being stuck on the joke you just told and you're running out. And I know I have this problem as a stage performer myself. I write very densely, and I know, egotistical person that I am, that it's funny stuff. But there's an audience sitting there not for 20 minutes or 40 minutes, but sometimes 70 or 90 minutes. And after half an hour, they're like, too much informational overload. So I think as Jacqueline Novak gets popular from this show, and as audiences are enjoying it, she will get more seasoned as a performer, as a stand-up comedian and a performance artist, and learn to sell the very good material that she has even better. So if she can deal with the fatigue factor, Get on Your Knees would be even better and even funnier. However, if you want to hear an original voice talking very honestly, openly, and putting us at ease, that's one of the nice things about the show and about her style, is like she's not there to make us feel embarrassed or shy or icky about this subject that we're all interested in but don't want to admit to. She's just there, and from the very beginning we're feeling like, oh, it's going to be great, she's going to be fine, it's going to be funny, and she will tell the most intimate details and we're going to be okay with it. So on that level, I'm going to give Get on Your Knees from Jacqueline Novak 3 stars, and hope to certainly hear more from her, and wouldn't mind seeing it again at some point if I can get to go again and getting and digesting the stuff that I heard from the first time, but that sometimes was going in one ear and out the other because it was coming at me so fast. I have just a couple of minutes because we've got a guest calling in, oh my God, very shortly. And I wanted to leave more time for this, but got to say 2 farewells to friends of the Daverhood in theater, 2 people that we lost. First of all, Betty Corwin, the founder of the Theater on Film and Tape Archive at the New York Public Library at Lincoln Center. She was our guest in 2017, so I'm very glad that we got her. She was already 96 at that point. She was given a special Tony in 2001 for her contribution to New York theater, and it's huge. For people who can't afford to go to Broadway or coming from other cities and other countries, or folks who are studying the theater, and they didn't get to see some show in 1987 on Broadway, but there it is. They can sit in a booth at the public library, make a reservation, and watch a one-camera performance of a show that was saved, right? Oh, we do have a phone call coming in. Just give me one moment. Hello, this is the Dave's Gone By show. You absolutely are. Let me put you on hold for about a minute or so, and then we'll get you on with Rabbi Saul. Perfect. We'll get right to you. Just don't go anywhere. Okay, we do have our guest, Yay, calling in, folks. So I think I'll save the farewell to our friend Phyllis Newman for after this. It is 11 o'clock in the morning Eastern time here in the Daverhood, and I've got to end this segment right this second because we have our very, very special guest that we've all been waiting for, and Rabbi Saul Solomon is going to be interviewing her in just a moment. So let me see if I can get and play something so that we can make this transition and bring Rabbi. Yeah, Rabbi, come. She's on the phone. Oh yeah, here she is. Oh, shalom, everybody. Shalom, my friends. Shalom, my enemies. This is your old pal, Rabbi Saul Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And I am very excited and delighted to be talking to an actress and a delightful cabaret person. And of course, as we all know, offspring of one of the founding families of American television. Ladies and gentlemen, what can I tell you about Lucie Arnaz? What can I tell you? Let me find my notes and I'll be able to tell you about Lucie Arnaz. Well, she was on Broadway in They're Playing Our Song with our friend Robert Klein. She's had a couple of TV shows of her own. She won an Emmy Award for making a documentary about her parents, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. And we are going to have a ball talking with the delightful Lucie Arnaz. Shalom, Lucie.
Shalom, Dave, Rabbi, Saul, all of those people that you inhabit in your life.
Oh, yes. You don't want to know the people I inhabit in my life. It's a terrifying thought. But so you're working. Let's first tell one of the reasons that you're doing this is that you're going to be doing your cabaret show, and it's going to be at Feinstein's 54 Below. Where the hell's my notes on this?
I'm actually coming into, oh, you know what? There's a huge echo on this thing. Is there a way you can deal with that? Because I'm hearing everything I'm saying 2 seconds after I say it.
Oh, do you, well, is your computer on? Have you been listening to the show or something like that?
No, it's 8 o'clock in the morning where I live here, so.
No, because you sound absolutely perfect on this end. That's the weird part.
Okay, well.
Can we make do?
See if I can, oh boy.
I'll try not to echo too much.
No, it's me that's echoing, and that's why it's hard to talk, because everything, I can't do this. Should I call back? Let me call back and see if I can do better.
Call me right back. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, live television, radio, ladies and gentlemen. Well, at least for a moment, we had Lucie Arnaz on the program. But yes, she is going to be at Feinstein's 54 Below from September 30th to October 2nd. And by the way, this is the time, if you have people who loved I Love Lucy, if you have people who also like Lucie Arnaz and her show that she had on TV, and she even had a talk show for a while, then go bring them to the computer. Now's the time. She's going to be calling back. Let's answer the phone. Shalom.
Shalom.
How are we doing?
Oh, God, it's still doing it.
Why am I don't know why the hell I'm echoing.
You're not. No, you're not echoing. It's me. Every time I say something, I hear myself say it. So I have to I'm going to put my face away from the telephone, and after I speak, then I can listen.
Maybe that's a good, is it better now? Try saying something.
No, it's terrible.
Oh my God. Anyway, fiber optics in 2019, and we can't get Lucie Arnaz to have a normal phone conversation on the thing. I'm sorry about this. But the good news is that you sound absolutely wonderful. So, question, and you can answer in an echo if you choose. What are you doing in your latest cabaret show at Feinstein's 54 Below?
I have a new show that I put together last year that I've been doing around the country called I Got the Job, Songs from My Musical Past. And I haven't really, in 30 years of doing concerts, I've never concentrated on the musical theater, which has been the majority of the work that I've been doing with my life. So this is the first time I'm actually telling the stories of the shows that I've been in and doing some of the music from that, all the way back really to what started me in show business and in high school. And it's just kind of a fun mini retrospective of my life on the musical stage, at least the first 45 years, as I like to say.
Right. Hullaby. I mean, you still have many years to go. You know, you were in Pippin.
Yes, the second half should be much better.
God willing. So I assume there'll be a song from Pippin you'll do, and a song from...
Yes, there will. There will indeed. And good, great stories about the people that I've worked with along the way and stuff. I'm also, I know you're over where you were, and I'm doing 54 Below on the 30th of September through October 2nd, 7 o'clock shows at 54 Below.
Yes.
Feinstein. But I'm also doing the show for one night at the White Plains Performing Arts Center on September 27th. Couple nights before I open at 54 Below. So if there are people who live up there and don't want to do the drive into the city, you'll see the same show if you come to White Plains Performing Arts Center.
So all the plain white people of White Plains can go see Lucie Arnaz kind of trying out this show before she brings it to 54 Below. So were you involved in the 40th anniversary of their playing our song? Did they bring you and Robert Klein back to...
Indeed. Oh my God, it was an amazing... one special, unique night on Broadway at the Music Box Theater. Robert Klein and I in a 22-piece orchestra, Debbie Gravitt, who was in our one of the original three girl voices, and Hal Shane, who was part of the original company. We had our original conductor, Larry Blank, and we did it on the exact 40th anniversary, Monday night, February 11th. It was quite surreal and beautiful.
Now, that was your first Broadway show, was
right.
The original 40 years ago. They're playing our song. Did you feel... Everybody feels pressure, of course, when they're first on Broadway, but was there extra pressure on you to prove yourself a Broadway star, just because of who you came from?
Probably. I mean, not in my mind. I try not to think about those things, but you can't deal with what people bring to the theater in their own mind. I had been doing theater for about, that was 79. I started in 72 doing summer stock and regional theaters on my hiatuses from the Here's Lucy show. And then I got the national company of Seesaw for 7 months. And I did Mac and Mabel, and I did a lot of regional, well, not a lot, it wasn't that many years, but I mean, I had done shows, and so when I came into New York with playing our song, I came in with Annie Get Your Gun under my belt, which was the entire summer at Jones Beach in Massapequa, Long Island.
Yeah.
My first New York Times review, my first Hirschfeld caricature. So I had a little bit of history that supported my being able to actually be on a Broadway show. But sure, I mean, to this day, I think I'm always going to be looked at as her, his offspring, and what does she do? Is she different? That's part of the gig, you know?
And to be honest, I remember you read or you wrote in an interview, they asked you, you said at some point, it would be amazing if there was ever an interview where they asked more questions about me than about my parents or my parents' relation to me. It would be like the greatest day of your life when somebody finally did an interview with you where they concentrated specifically on you, as opposed to your background.
Yeah.
This is not going to be one of those interviews, but just wanted to let you...
I was about to say yes, and I'm still waiting.
Not going to happen today, but we are going to ask more stuff about you. So let's hear some funny, kooky experiences, because you've done so much musical theater, so much live theater. Any funny anecdotes, any things that went wrong, any amazing moments? Share.
Oh my God. Well, one of the stories I tell in the show, I kind of hate to give it away here, but I won't do the whole thing because I can't act it out because you can't see me. But you know those moments when you think you're so damn smart because you've done the show for months and months and now you're really good. You know, you really know this part and you got that character wrapped around your little finger, and then you do a scene and you finish the scene and in your head you say, damn, that was good. That's the best I've ever done that.
Right.
And then you turn around to do the next moment or sing the next song and you go completely up. You go blank. You have not a clue where you are or what's coming up. And then you have to crawl out of that moment in just horrifying embarrassment. And there was one huge moment like that in My One and Only with Tommy Tune that I still talk about because it froze my brain and it was so humiliating. But you know, I say the moral of the story is never congratulate yourself in the middle of a performance.
You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There's time enough for remembering lines when the deal is done. So any Tommy Tune stories, by the way?
Oh God, well, Tommy Tune and I have done so many shows together. We started with the national tour of Seesaw, and we did Mac and Mabel together.
Well, let me ask you, did doing Seesaw
tour for?
No, I wanted to ask you.
I don't know, close to a year.
Hold on, you're not letting me do my joke.
I have a million stories about Tommy Tune. Let me see. What can I tell you? By the way, if you say something while I'm speaking, I won't hear you because I have to put the ear part of my phone away from my face. Otherwise, I'll hear myself echoing. So you have to talk like in the old days when you had ship-to-shore radios. One person talked and then you went over, and then the next person talked and you go over. Remember that?
Well, yeah. Not only that, I'm talking about, but not only that, but isn't it amazing that in this day and age you tune into any of the news programs, CNN or MSNBC, and they're talking to a correspondent somewhere, and the interview, the actual vocal content of the interview is 2 minutes long, but the interview takes 6 minutes because they have to ask a question, and then hours pass by the time the other person hears.
7 second intervals in between the question and the answer. Yeah.
Oh my God! But the 7 seconds feels like much more than the usual delay. It's just like
this reminds me of being at my dad's house down in Baja, California, years ago in the 60s, and there was no phone service down there, and all we had was a ship-to-shore radio. And he had to call my mother every once in a while to say the kids are okay. And so we'd have to get on this. It's a phone you have on your boat, and you have to call the ship-to-shore radio operator. Mi querida, dos, tres, cuatro, four. And then you'd say what you say once they get the person on the phone. And when you'd say, hi, Mom, I'm fine. It's nice down here. We're all okay. Over.
Wow.
And then she'd talk. And when she finished, she had to say over. And you couldn't talk to each other while the other person was talking. That's what this is like today.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I interrupted you about acting with Tommy Tune and a whole bunch of different
Actually,
shows.
I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No.
So one of the memories that pops into my head when you say that is I did not grow up a tap dancer. I learned a little bit at a time, a little bit on the Here's Lucy show, a little bit in the show here, a little bit there. So dancing with Tommy in My One and Only, which was an all dancing musical and especially tap dancing, was really like getting a college degree for me. It was just huge. And I was terrified, even though I knew him very well and he was one of my closest friends. I wanted to be as good as Sandy Duncan, as good as Twiggy, as good as Stephanie Zimbalist, as good as whoever came after me, you know. And I fell down on opening night in Los Angeles in the water dance number, which he warned me about because he said there's water on the stage and you have to be careful because we carry our own stage for the water dance and it sometimes buckles, but we know where the buckles are. But so, you know, when you do the backup tap step and you're backing up, just be careful. So of course, my knees are shaking like, you know, I think I'm going to be shot at sunrise when I was doing the number and I backed up and of course I slipped and I fell down and I got up so fast out of fear and humiliation. I leapt up and yelled at Tommy, "Keep going!" And we did, and it was fine. I didn't sleep for 2 weeks. I could not sleep at night. I was so humiliated by that. But then Tommy fell down in the middle of a number, which made my day. I was so happy that happened. I just stood there and looked at him and went, "Ah!"
Oh, that's nice.
Laughing.
That's lovely. That's really.
No, but it helps because I thought if Tommy Toon can fall down,
yeah.
and trust me, when he falls, it's a long way down.
Yeah. Well, what's that thing? He's 6'15" or
He's
something.
6'6", and he's skinny. You know, it's
no.
like
He's tall.
like
he's
a pool
7'6".
umbrella falling.
He's 7'6", isn't he? Yeah, he's over 7.
No,
Oh, no?
no, 6'6".
Oh, okay. Well, it's not that. I mean,
That's tall enough.
I know. Look at me. I'm 5'2". This is to tell you something.
Okay, so to you, he is 7'6".
So let me, since we're talking about famous people, let's talk about some more famous folks. For example, one of the great American songwriters, Irving Berlin, called you, didn't he?
No, he actually sent me a telegram on my opening night of Annie Get Your Gun.
What did it say? Do you remember? I assume you still have it.
Oh, I do indeed. I talk about it in the show. We had our original Broadway conductor. Our conductor, Jay Blackton, was Irving's original Broadway conductor when they did the show with Ethel Merman. And so he knew that Jay was doing this show with me, and he sent me a telegram that said, "Dear Lucie, I'm sorry I can't be with you tonight, but Jay tells me that you're wonderful as Annie. Next day on your dressing room, they've hung a star. Good luck, I'll be rooting for you." Irving Berlin. Yeah.
But wait, I thought also didn't you sing for his 100th birthday in Italy, and he asked you to do that personally or something?
No, by that time he was not talking to people as much, I don't think, when he was 100. But I was invited to go to Italy through the auspices of the Italian government to the Teatro de Verde outdoor amphitheater. They celebrate a great American composer every year, apparently. Yeah. And they asked me in 1988 to do a show about Irving Berlin for his 100th birthday. And it was the first club act, first concert like that where I just played Lucie Arnaz, singing, that I'd ever done. And they gave me a very small chunk of money when you think about it today. And I had to put together 90 minutes of music. And because it's Irving Berlin, you can't do an evening of Irving Berlin without all of the Fred Astaire numbers and all the dance. So I had to hire 3 dancers. We did tons of tap and dancing and all the musical stuff that he wrote and the Tin Pan Alley things and the beautiful ballads. And oh my God, it was wonderful. But that show became the auspices, the basis of my nightclub act for the next year. And it morphed into Gershwin and Cy Coleman and other things. And I've been doing concerts for 30 years because I got that offer.
And are there any Berlin songs in your current and your Feinstein show?
Yeah, because I do a piece on Annie Get Your Gun.
Right. Okay, that makes total sense. Let me ask you about a couple of other well-known folks. For example, did you get? Notice how I load these questions because I'm expecting. Please tell me the answer is no. But did you get a message or a note from Katharine Hepburn when you had a blessing in your life?
Oh, I've gotten several notes from Katharine Hepburn. I framed every single one of them because I wanted to name a daughter after her. If I had a daughter, I knew I was going to name her Katharine and spell it the way that Katharine spells her name, Katharine. And I just always admired her as a human being and as an actress and whatever. And so I had my first child, and it was a boy. And we had a mutual friend, Ben Strobach, who was her stage manager for many years and was our stage manager on a couple of shows. And through Ben, she found out that I had that plan and it didn't work out. I had a boy. So she said, oh, so sorry that Catherine didn't come into the world, or blah, 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 blah. But congratulations. And then I got pregnant again. And my plan was, if it's a boy, his name would be Joseph. And if it's a girl, it's going to be Catherine. It'll be Catherine Luckenbill. And I had a boy. And she sent me another letter. So sorry, it's a powerless time for women in this line. She's going to save her time to come at a different whatever. It was a very sweet letter. And then I got pregnant again. And I had a girl. And she sent me the most lovely note. Congratulations, I'm so delighted to finally be a part of your family. And then she said, but poor girl, that A, meaning the second A in Catherine that nobody ever spells right. She said, poor girl, that A, well, at least it'll teach her to fight.
Isn't that lovely? At least it's just going to have to, every time it's, no, it's not K-A-T-H-E, it's K-A-T-H-A.
Right.
But, oh, come on. I mean, what wonderful memory. We were talking last week, in fact, to a producer and a writer, a composer, a theater guy who has tons of money and spends it on memorabilia. And he was telling us all his favorite stuff, his memorabilia that he collects. You shouldn't know from the guy has like the thing that Newt Rockney, when he was killed in a plane crash, he was holding like a medallion in his hand and a crucifix. And this Jewish guy now owns that medallion and crucifix that was pried from the bones of Newt Rockney. And then like, okay, so do you have anything like that? What's your favorite? What is your memorabilia that you most cherish?
Well, first of all, when you tell me that story, I say to myself, I don't think I would want that.
No. If it were a Mogan David, I would say,
clearly it didn't work.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But what about yours? What do you have on your walls or in your vaults, or that you're like, oh, either from your parents or other aspects of showbiz?
God, I suppose there's a lot of it maybe if I go and wander around my house while I'm talking to you. I have the knocker from the door of our house on Roxbury Drive before they renovated the whole house to the point where you can't recognize it anymore.
Yeah.
That means a lot to me because that's a huge memory in my life of people knocking on the door, walking up to our house and banging on the door all the time. And we had this 5-foot-tall, wonderful little Japanese woman who used to pad across the whole entire hallway, and she couldn't see the little peephole because she was too short. So she would just open the little brass door and she would go, "She no home," and slam the door. And so when they were tearing the facade of the house down when the new people bought it, and I walked over to the guy, and he was horrified that I was there the day they were doing that. I just happened to be driving by, and he asked me if there was anything at all, anything that was a part of the house that I would like to have. And geez, I don't know. So I took a tour around inside and looked at my house all torn up, which was horrifying. Don't ever do that, by the way. That gets an option for you people. Don't go back and watch them tear your house apart. But I said, you know what? Here's one thing. Are you going to change the door, the front door? And they go, oh, yeah, and a whole new door going in. I went, great. Could I have that little brass knocker, please? And that's what I took.
Wow. I knew Lawrence Luckenbill married you for your knockers. I just knew it. Thank you very much. Comedy right there on the program, ladies and gentlemen. So that's a lovely. And what about another item, or an autograph, or a picture, or just a thing, a memento?
My God, what an interesting question. I mean, there's hundreds of them, I suppose. They're all, everything in my house is a memento. I have artwork that my father had on his walls. I have artwork my mother had on her walls. I have a wonderful portrait of her. I have all kinds of memorabilia from shows I've been in. Elephants. I collect elephants, and I have all kinds of wonderful little collections from around the world, and framed artwork from Sister Carita, who was a wonderful artist and who ran the art department at the high school I went to, Immaculate Heart High School. What else? I mean, I don't. That's an interesting question. I suppose if I made a list, it's probably more than I even remember. I'm walking through my kitchen as I'm talking to you, and I see that I have what is it? It's a soup tureen, but it's in the shape of a big hen with her little chicks around her, and you take the top off, and there's a big ladle inside, and little eggs around the bottom, and you're supposed to put soup and stuff in there. But it was actually my mother and my father's when they had their first house in Chatsworth, and I think it might be the only piece that still exists from those days.
Kind of,
It traveled with me everywhere ever since my dad died.
Wow. And a little, I mean, serve chicken soup out of it. It's a little bit sick, but it's still a lovely thought. It's a little.
That's why I don't do that.
Now, you mentioned the Sacred Heart thing. You're obviously not Jewish, and I'll forgive you that. Yeah.
Immaculate Heart. But you know what? I have often felt more Jewish than anything else because I consider myself a recovering Catholic, and I grew up with an entire family of Jewish people after my mother married Gary Morton, and his family became a part of our family. Morty Goldapper, and his cousin Sid Gould, and I grew up with the whole Jewish faith, even though he wasn't very religious, I would say, but the traditions and the speak and thought processes became a part of me for it still is for a long time. And I probably have more Jewish friends than I have any other religion, except maybe unity, which is, if I have a religion, it's that, which is not a religion, it's just a
you just get together, sing songs and stuff, and then the Unitarian, you do hymns.
It's not Unitarian. Unity is different from Unitarian. Unity is a way of looking at life, a philosophy, a spiritual philosophy for practical living, basically. And it takes all denominations. Anybody can be a part of unity culture. You can be David Friedman is one of the people who go to Unity out in Norwalk with me when I'm there every week. His partner, Sean Moniger, is the minister at Unity of Norwalk, and David is as Jewish as you can get.
There you go. So, it's nice that Jews can finally be united over something. I'll tell you.
Over something.
There you go. We're talking, by the way, with Lucie Arnaz. So now I've asked some questions about you. Let's now got to get to some questions about your growing up and your parents. I didn't realize that you spent some of your teen years in New York or even preteen years. How did that work out? That you weren't in California?
You mean before I was like 15 or so?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't very long. It was about a year. My mother did a Broadway show called Wildcat, and they had to move us to New York to go to school. So I was there from 61, 62, something like that.
Do you remember seeing your mother in Wild? Hey, look me over.
Oh, God, yeah, sure. I saw that show maybe 18, 20 times. Mostly out of town. We would schlep over to see how Jewish I am? I said schlep. We would go to Philadelphia when they were trying the show out, and I remember crawling around, underneath the seats up in the balcony and switching people's purses. I thought that was fun.
Oh, nice one. There we go.
So after you've seen the show a couple of times, you got to do something to entertain yourself.
Well, when you would see your mom,
I saw the show a lot.
Well, that's the thing. Could you watch your mother up there, and did you see your mom in fancy clothes and makeup, or could you get into the show as a show? How did you react?
I totally got into the show as a show, and it probably is one of the reasons that I ended up in theater now. Because when you're that age, you're very impressionable. And I was all about the choreography, and I hung out with the gypsies backstage, one of them of which we just lost, Valerie Harper. She was in that show with my mother. And I love the music. It's Cy Coleman, Carolyn Lee. I didn't know that then. I didn't know who those people were, but I grew up on that stuff. And then, years later, I went to see Mame when I was about 14, and I saw Angela Lansbury climb down those stairs and sing It's Today. And I just knew in my soul that that's where I was supposed to be, like not necessarily in the music world per se, like my father was or my brother was, not necessarily television specifically like my mom. I saw myself very clearly. I thought, that's me. That's where I go. I go there.
Have you ever, it just occurred to me, have you ever yourself been in a production of either Wildcat or Mame?
No, I've always told people that I would love to do a production of Mame, and it's never come about for one reason or another. And Wildcat, we were going to do a reading of it, like an encore series a few years ago, and I don't know what happened to that. It's not a great show per se. I mean, when you look at the book now, it's kind of corny. It's actually, even my mother would say, it's just a musical version of The Rainmaker.
All right.
You know,
well,
which
so it's
110
110
in the Shade was a musical
Yeah.
version of The Rainmaker, but it's the same author, and he kind of just copied it and made it oil. It's
Yeah.
a little bit corny today. I don't know that it would work, but some of the music is great.
Yeah.
It was Ty Coleman's first Broadway show, really the first
Oh.
Broadway show that, you know, put his name out there.
So when you did get, and now come the Lucie and Desi questions. So when you got to act with her on her show, again, what was going through your, were you just trying to impress her, or you didn't even think about that? She said, oh, no, let me do my job. Let me be an actress myself. And it could have been any actress you were acting with.
Well, she was my mother, so of course I'm trying to do good, you know. I mean, she invited me onto the show to learn about the business, and I wanted to please her and make her proud, as you would if your mother wasn't the one on the show, you know, if she was just at home watching you. But mostly I was invested in learning about acting, and we learned a lot about music because they did a lot of musical numbers on that show, and so without realizing it, I ended up with a tremendous musical education at the same time, which I talk about in my show, because that was the beginning. You know, we shot that show in front of a live audience, and when we did the musical numbers, maybe 6 or 7 a season, and we had 6 seasons of those, I said, like, we were doing what Glee is doing now. You know, long before there was a Glee, we were doing those full-fledged, big, built-out musical extravaganzas on this half-hour sitcom. And I learned a lot from that. So, yeah, I wasn't, you know, once I got into it, I wasn't really thinking about her. I was thinking about my job.
Now, also,
I mean, she was my mother, you know, so I didn't look at her like, oh my God, it's Lucille Ball, I have to please her.
well, sometimes it's
She would
even worse.
embarrass me.
Yeah, sometimes that's even more of a thing. It's like, oh, who cares? It's my mom. That can be even more intimidating for some people.
But I had watched her work for years, you know, and I'd been on the set a lot. I knew a lot of the crew and the people, so it was much more comfortable than that. And they were very, very welcoming to both my brother and I. They taught us a lot, and they were patient, and I learned a lot. It was a fantastic education those 6 years. It really was.
Now, you have said that you got different aspects of your personality from both your mom and your dad, and that your dad was like the businessy guy. He could make a deal like nobody's business. And you got your work ethic from your mother, but you're more like your dad. How does that in later life now? Is it the same as you were 30, 40, 50 years ago, or have you morphed more into one and more of the other?
Well, I think like with anybody, you know, I don't know your parents like you know mine, so I can't tell, but I bet you would tell me that you have a little bit of both of them in the way you behave today, right?
Oh, unfortunately, yes. Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not uncommon, but I do find that I do business in the way that my father probably would, more than my mother, because my mother was not a business person. She didn't want to be. That's an interesting misconception that is out there, which is all very lovely, that people want to credit her with, you know, she was the first woman to run a studio. She was a businesswoman. She was the first big businesswoman in Hollywood. And I want to say, people, that's all very nice. It's nice that you think that. And she'd be very flattered, but she'd be the first person to say, oh, for Christ's sakes, no, I wasn't. Because she only had to run the studio for a very short period of time, and she didn't really run it. She had the suits. She had people that my father had hired who were brilliant, who worked with my dad. When she divorced my father, he stayed on for a while, and then they decided that wasn't going to work anymore, and she had to buy him out, and that left her with the other half, which meant that she was the head of the studio. She hated it. She only wanted to go and work on the stage, be the Lucie character. So she left all the business to these other people. And she would come home and literally tell us that, you know, God, I had to go to another frickin' meeting today or whatever. She hated it. And as soon as she could, she sold it to Gulf and Western, which became Paramount, which is Viacom, which is the world. The world. They own the world.
Yeah. So
anyway, so it you know, I think I'm more like my dad in business, I'll say, to go back to what I was saying, because he liked it and he was really good at it. And he had a way of talking to people that never put them down. He always started with something positive. If he had a deal to make, he was very clever and very funny when he was talking to people, and sort of assuage, you know, them a little bit before he would decide what he wanted. And my mother was the polar opposite. She didn't have any patience for any of that stuff. She only just get me the damn script and make it right and get it fast.
And you also recall her like just sitting with you guys, being a mom and playing cards and making eggs for breakfast and making the time to do that, because she actually liked to do that more than running the studio.
She likes to be Lucie. She liked to be on stage, working with the scripts, coming up with the shtick that would make it funnier and turning that brilliant writing into gold. That's what she wanted to do with her time, not run a studio.
Right. No, I mentioned, but also you cherish the times when she was but she was a mom. She was, behaving, spending time with her children and being at home and having those moments together, which we don't really think about so much.
Right. That was very rare because of how hard she worked. Not necessarily running the studio, but going to work and rehearsing and all the different shows, every single week, a different show, a different rehearsal period. And it was late and we had schedules with homework and had to get to bed at a certain time. And as we got older, we were in our, 8, 9, 10, 11, we got to have dinner with her, but we didn't see her very much. And I felt sorry for her in a way because she didn't get a chance to be the mom that she wanted to be. And then because they were divorced, her only time to really hang with us would have been on the weekends, and my father had us on the weekends, so she didn't get that either. It's when I think back on it, she really got the short end of the stick, I guess.
How is your brother? The guy Little
How
Ricky
is he?
Yeah. How is he doing? How often do you get together with him? How is he?
He's okay. He lives in Nevada. He's about a half hour out of Vegas, and he owns and runs the historic Boulder City Theater up there, and they produce shows. Unfortunately, his beautiful wife Amy passed away almost 5 years ago, I think now, of brain cancer. And since then, we haven't seen too much of Desi. He likes to stay quiet, and he's a self, appointed hermit. He said, "I'm a hermit. Leave me alone." But he's okay. But thank you for asking.
But also, it makes us wonder, like the custodian of the legacy. And it's like, how much time do you have to deal with? Oh, we want to use your mom's image on a lunchbox. Oh, we want to put reruns on TBS. Oh, and this and this. I mean,
well, they're two separate things. First of all, let me just be specific, because that's a misconception that should always be clarified. If they want to do reruns of the show, they go to CBS, because we do not own I Love Lucy anymore. That changed in 1957 when my father sold his 50% back to CBS so that they could make enough money to buy a studio and get to be a bigger production company. So Desi and I and our family have not owned I Love Lucy for decades and decades and decades. Okay. So that's all CBS. As far as the imagery, to put her face on something, if it's a Ricardo face or just a regular Lucille Ball or Desi Arnaz, yes, we have an entire business that we have to run in order to police that. And we've gone further than policing it now. We figure if you're going to do it, let's do it right. And we have a wonderful relationship with CBS and the merchandising department over there that is a full-time job. And I brought my daughter, Catherine, into this end of it now to sort of help us regulate that, because she came from a business world education. She started out as an actress and a singer. She's still a wonderful singer, but then she took a detour and went into the corporate world and has ended up working for everybody from Amazon to Snapchat to Microsoft to, big PR firms. So she understands the lingo with all the deal making and all that stuff. And she's been incredible in helping us figure out how to do it in today's world with social media and just do it better than we've done it before. And so it's a full-time gig. Yeah. When I'm not doing concerts or holding my new grandson, Kate's new baby. She just had a baby boy, and my son Joe just had a baby girl. So that's taken up a lot of time.
Joe is in a band. Is he still doing anything creative stuff, or what does he do?
Yeah, my son Joe plays in a couple of bands up in Connecticut and that area. I think one of his bands is Joe Luck and Bill, just plain Joe Luck and Bill band. But there's all Plasm, I think, is his other funky, wonderful rock.
Plasm?
It's not really a rock band. I don't know what Joe calls his music. It's sort of a combination of rock and Latin and pop, and it's really cool. But he's a music teacher too. He plays incredible guitar. He teaches music throughout the Connecticut and New York area, and has children as his students and adults. And so he's a busy boy.
Well, good. Now, speaking of we gotta go back and ask this one too, because one of the things that you did some movies, you were trying to get a movie career going, and probably one of the films that did not help is that, and this is important to me as a Jew, you were in the remake of The Jazz Singer. You were actually, you were nominated for a Golden Globe for this movie, where nothing else got well reviewed, but you did. Question: first of all, do you have any memories of Larry Olivier, who was in the film?
Oh yeah, many actually. First of all, he was very ill when we were making that film. He was in the middle of severe cancer treatment, and he was very weak. And he couldn't have been nicer or more accommodating to the new director that was just put on the film. Sidney Furie was let go, and Richard Fleischer was brought on just as I joined the film after they had fired the first girl, Deborah Raffin. It was a big, flux of things. But by the time I got there, it was a very pleasant set. Neil was adorable, very easy to work with. I thought he was sensational as a person. He had never acted before, and he knew he didn't know anything about it. But he allowed Dick Fleischer to teach him, and he trusted him, and he trusted me. I would tell him little things here and there, and he would say, "Oh, okay, I get it, I know how to do that." And then Olivier was just so accommodating. You would think of Sir Laurence Olivier, the greatest actor that was ever lived. And, if a director wanted to tell him how to do a scene, that he would say, "My dear boy, please, I know how to do this." He was never like that. He was like, whatever you like, Richard, whatever you like, Dick.
That's lovely.
And I only had one scene with the man, so I can't say I've acted.
Well, one scene
with Laurence Olivier. If you remember, the one scene I had with him, I came in, my line was, "How do you do, Cantor Rabinovich?" And he looked at me, looked at Neil, and ripped his collar and said, "I have no son," and left.
It's a big scene.
So that's my big scene with Laurence Olivier. But I thought he was a charming man, and I got to sit next to him for the entire day when we were filming the concert version at the Pantages Theater, because we were part of the audience, and they would cut to us from time to time.
Yeah.
So for a lot of the day, we were sitting in those two seats together, and in between takes, we would talk, and he would ask me about my family, and I would ask him about his. And it was a very precious time in my life. He died not too long after that.
Wow. Oh, I'm so glad I asked. Can I ask? So that movie actually has wonderful memories for you, because I must have wondered when it flopped so badly, though. Your agent must have been like, "Oh, how are we going to get past this?" And
no. I didn't. Those agents, first of all, I don't even think an agent got me that film. I didn't even have an agent. I don't know. I can't even remember having an agent. I remember that Sidney Furie came to see me, and they're playing our song on Broadway, and hired me from that.
Wow.
And then by the time I got out of the show and flew to LA to start filming the movie, he was fired. And suddenly there was this new director and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I found it an amazing experience. I had a fantastic time. I got to work with Neil Diamond and listen to that music every single day and be in a Winnebago with him, and while he's composing songs for the movie. I mean, hello. And work with Laurence Olivier. Yeah. And then Larry came to visit me. I was dating my husband, Larry Luckaville, who you did a wonderful interview with, by the way. I loved listening to that. It was a fantastic interview. But Larry would come to visit me on the set, and at the end of the movie, when we were almost finished with the movie, I got pregnant with my first child on that film. So I have great memories of working on that movie. As a matter of fact, there's a scene in the movie where my character tells Franklin AJ, his buddy in the film. Yeah. It's the scene where
he's the only black guy in the movie.
Crazy, and he's throwing things around in the recording studio. He's being a real jackass. And I have just gotten back from the doctor. And Franklin says to me, "How did it go at the doctor's?" And I say, if you remember, "Another rabbit bit the dust," which means she's pregnant.
And you were, and you
And
just found.
she wants to tell the Neil Diamond's character, right? And Franken says, maybe not right now. It's probably not a good time. Well, that morning that we shot that scene, I had just come from my own gynecologist who told me that, in fact, I was going to have a baby.
Mazel Nicole. That film has more good memories for you than anybody else associated. That's so wonderful. Speaking of good memories.
Yeah, and you know what? The reviews might not have been very good for the film as far as like New York Times and people like that, Variety. But we won the People's Choice, the People, what is it, the
People's Choice Award, yeah.
God, I forgot the name of the award now, so long ago.
Well, you were nominated for
CinemaScope Award of the Year, which is the audiences, as they leave the theater, they fill out these cards, right? And it won over Ordinary People and all these other fabulous shows.
Wow.
So it was a people-loving film, but the critics really hated Neil. They hated what Larry did, Laurence Olivier. It was very sad. You're right. I escaped unscathed, and I got nominated, which was fine. But no, it didn't hurt my career. I actually got another film from EMI, the same production company that produced that. Immediately after that, gave me a film that I could, have all to myself, called Second Thoughts, which we should have all had second thoughts before doing because it wasn't that good. So.
How do you know? I mean, when the movie's over, you go to the premiere, you watch it. Do you sit there with a sinking feeling, or do you trust your gut and they're like, this just didn't happen?
I didn't get to go to the premiere. I was having my baby when it came out.
More important, even better. Okay.
It's the truth. I didn't get to go to the premiere because I was at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles having Simon.
Oh, Simon. Oh, there was another. Wait. Oh, I'm so sorry. How many kids do you have?
I have 3 of my own and 2 stepchildren. Larry had 2 when I married him. So we have 3, Simon, Joe, and Kate.
So what does Simon do?
Simon is an artist. He paints, and he's a nutritionist guy. He's all about health foods and spirulina and making potions for people and stuff like that.
Oh my! Is there a way that he can make pastrami and borscht healthy?
He wouldn't touch a pastrami if you put, I don't know, on it.
Flax seeds, even if you
not even.
Not even. Oh, that's a shame.
He's a vegan vegetarian's worst nightmare. He's beyond any. He has to juice his food.
Black sheep of your family. I'm sorry, it just is a Jewish sort of. Now, but speaking of Jews, because that's one of the things I wanted to talk about the Jazz Singer also, because it's got the whole Jewy thing to it. But speaking of Jews, you said the funniest person, Jewish or not, or any, that you've ever met was Neil Simon. So please tell us something funny that he said or did. Why Neil Simon? I mean, we can tell.
Oh, God.
What?
How do I nail it down to something funny that he said? I've never been with the man when he didn't make me scream with laughter. He was very subtle. He never looked like he was going to say anything funny. He didn't have a routine. He didn't talk like people who were trying to be funny. He just said things that were hilarious. And, oh, God. Okay, here's the best Neil Simon story that I have. Takes a second to tell it.
Sure, please.
We were going to move out of New York City and move up to Westchester into Katona, New York, to buy this beautiful piece of property up there. And I had done there playing our song. And I told Neil about it after that because we were friends. And he said, "What? You're moving out of New York? Where are you going?" I said, "Well, we're just going to live up in the country, Neil. It's about, it's an hour, something like that, maybe 40 minutes. But it's 15 acres. It's gorgeous. There's a pond." He goes, "What are you going to do? Nobody's going to be able to get you to audition stuff on your way up." I said, No. I'll come here. And he goes, "I don't think you should do that." I said, "Oh, no, it's a beautiful place to raise my kids." And he said, "Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea." I said, "It's not that far, Neil. It's 45 minutes, door to door." He said, "Big house." You're not laughing.
I got it. That's quick. Also, you're vocally you're breaking up on our side of the phone suddenly.
Oh, see?
How many bars do you have on your thing?
I'm on a regular phone.
Oh, there you go.
I'm not on a bar.
Well,
I'm on a regular walk around the house mobile phone.
Well, how many bars does your receiver have, or the holes that you have to dial one after the other, around and around in a circle? I'm just.
No.
We've been talking, by the way, with the delightful and wonderful Lucie Arnaz. Please go see her. You have a couple of opportunities from September 30th through October 2nd at Feinstein's 54 Below. What is the name of the actual show that you're doing? Do you have a title?
It's called "I Got the Job: Songs from My Musical Past."
I got
And
the
it's
job.
also in White Plains on the 27th.
Sorry, thanks for
The
reminding me.
White Plains Performing Arts Center.
So, last question or two for the wonderful Lucie Arnaz. First of all, you mentioned and you complimented me so nice on the interview that I did with your husband, Larry Luckenbill. I hope you feel as good about this interview as well. How's he doing? Is he okay?
Oh, he's doing great. Thanks for asking. He's sitting in the other room looking at me, wondering why I'm talking so loud.
Oh, because you're talking to a Jew. This is why. Yeah.
He's doing great. Thank you very much. Still working on his memoir, which he talked to you about, getting
Right.
to the end of that.
Good.
And, he's going to be celebrating his 85th birthday in November, and I've never known a smarter, sharper, savvier, sexier 85-year-old ever anywhere.
Whoa. There you that's I want that on my tombstone. You have to write it very small, but still, it's God willing. Let me also ask Lucie here, and wait, I've lost the question I was going to ask you. Where the hell was it? Everybody talks to each
I
other.
love how you go into a Jewish song.
What else am I going to go into? Yeah. The movie. There's going to be that movies apparently about your parents, Lucie and Desi, that you're working on or involved in. What's happening with that bio?
Well, we have a beautiful script written by Aaron Sorkin.
Right.
Thank you so much. Can't believe that we have this incredible writer writing this story. And Kate Blanchett is has been cast to play my mother, and she's amazing. And that's where we are right now. We've just gotten the script, and we're talking to directors. We haven't got anybody that we went to our first guy, and he's very excited about it, but I'm not allowed to say who.
All right.
And hopefully this coming year we will be into the whole pre-production and get it done finally.
So you are the producer. You guys are doing it. It's
no. It came to us through Escape Artist Productions, Steve Tish's company. Todd Black and Jenna Block came to me and asked if they could tell this story, and that they wanted it to be a story about the relationship. Obviously, I Love Lucy is a part of their relationship, but it's a story. It's the love story. And first we thought it might be a 6 or 7, 8-part miniseries type thing, but once we got Aaron Sorkin involved, he decided he thought maybe it could be a feature, wanted it to be a feature, which I don't know if you can tell their whole story in 2 hours, but it's an artist's rendering, let's put it that way, of their relationship at a certain period of time when they were making I Love Lucy. And what he's written is really brilliant and beautiful. And so it's going to be done by Amazon Studios.
Oh, okay.
They're producing it with Todd Black. And they came to us, so we're co-producers, and I'll be consulting producer on it. But didn't start out with us. I would never decide to do another project about them.
Because you did a documentary.
This one didn't seem like something we should turn down. It sounded like it was going to be a class act, and I'm very, very excited about it.
And you did a documentary about your.
I did a documentary in '93, with home movies and interviews with lots of people who grew up with my folks and worked with them at the studio or went to school with them or whatever, while all those people were still here. And I'm glad I did, and then combined it with scrapbooks and movie clips, and it was just a daughter's look at who these parents really were, what they were like as people, why they made the choices that they made. And I didn't know it was going to be a documentary when I started doing it. I just started interviewing people that were still around.
Yeah.
Because CBS, who we do have a lovely relationship with today, but back in those days when my mother had just passed away, they made a really stupid film, really low class, not just piece of crap. And I thought, geez, there's got to be better stories out there, more depth, more explanation of who they were and why they did what they did and how they got that success and how come they couldn't stay together. And so I started asking people, and I had 3 years of interviews before I knew what I was going to do with it. And then I took it out and took it to NBC, and they let us do a documentary, and it won an Emmy. So there you go. Who knew?
Well, mit mazel on that, of course, and mit mazel. I guess, first of all, also let us know what else you might be working on creatively, because after people see you at 54 Below Feinstein's, what are you going to be in anything?
No, that's what I do this, unless, yes, what I'm going to be doing is producing that film
Right.
next year, which is going to tie up a lot of my time. I canceled a lot of concerts this past year in May and June because my little grandbabies were being born. And but when I'm not producing, I'm doing concerts. And next year, in between whatever the movie schedule is, I have a brand new show that I'm putting together about, well, it's being about the age that I am and taking a look at music through the eyes of a 68-year-old woman. And there are certain songs that you approach completely differently when you're a woman of a certain age who's now a grandparent. Oh. And I'm also doing a new show with Clint Holmes, who I adore, wonderful jazz singer and a good friend. We're doing a duet show next year. And that's it. That should keep me ridiculously busy. And I want to be with my kids, my grandkids. So I'm trying to carve out time for that because one of them is in Connecticut and the other one's in Los Angeles, and I live in Palm Springs.
Okay, wow. All right. So, but last question then. If you had to choose one moment that is your proudest moment in your career, because I'm sure you're very proud of being a grandma and raising your kids, and of course. But if you were to pick a career moment, greatest moment for you?
Oh, no. I don't know if I could do that. I really don't think I could do that because they've all been stepping stones, and one just as important as the other for one reason or another, even if it was a mistake, sort of like I said, second thoughts we should have had. But I learned by doing that how to choose better material and how to look at the directors. And, you learn from everything. So the whole career is a work it's a work in progress. And I am proud, certainly. You heard from my voice how proud I was to tap dance with Tommy Tune and My One and Only. I mean, that's an accomplishment. How I look at what I did in Pippin, hanging upside down on a trapeze 20 feet above the stage with no nets and no wires. And that was an accomplishment I'll never be able to top, but it's just a unique, bizarre accomplishment. Working with Laurence Olivier was an amazing, but I wouldn't consider any of them my best thing. I don't know that I could do that. Maybe it has. I hope there's never a best.
that you're always hoping that the next one is going to be the.
I hope there's never a best. I don't want there to be a best. I just want there to be more.
Lullaby. And I've got to say, you're right also about learning from mistakes. I can't tell you how many circumcisions I botched until I started getting them right and doing them well. Thank God I did eventually. I'm still 1 out of every 10. There's a gender reassignment thing going on. But other than that, it's been good. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking with the wonderful Lucie Arnaz. It just remains for me to thank you very, very, very much.
You're quite welcome, and thank you for putting up with my speaking away from the phone so that I didn't have to hear my echo. This interview will echo with me for many, many years.
Oh, in our hearts as well. Lucie Arnaz, shalom to you.
Shalom.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lucie Arnaz in the Daverhood. I can't believe it. Let me see if I can play something here from, do I have anything from there playing our song? God darn it. Hold on. I'm trying to make this a nice transition out of this. Do I have them playing our song? Gosh darn. All right, let's hear some more of Lucie then, doing sort of a Cuban-based music like her father did with I can't even read this here. El Cumbanchero. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the Stream with me, Dave Lefkowitz, and of course, Potato is with us. Hey, Potato, did you love that? Did you love Lucie like we love Lucie here in the Daverhood now? Oh my gosh, yes, yes, yes. So, oh, she's singing my song. Oh, yes, she's singing my song. And we're drinking ketchup together. No, you're not, Potato. Anyway, yeah, we're in our 714th episode of Dave's Gone By. So thankful to Lucie for being with us, and a big shout out to her and to her husband, Larry Luckenbill, who's also a good friend of the Daverhood, and reminding you that you can go see Lucie in person. She's quite a singer, quite a talent. You can see her at Feinstein's 54 Below for September, 3 nights, September 30th, October 1st, and October 2nd in Manhattan. Get your tickets immediately. Anyway, welcome, by the way, to Deborah and Lane and Anita. Oh, speaking of friends of the Daverhood, very talented actress and musical person there herself. Anita and Bobby, and of course, Cynthia and Jeff and Claudia from my high school, and Jeff, and who else? Another Jeff. And Leith and Jeffrey and Bruce and Peter and Jolinda, excuse me. Yeah, I can't even flip back to all these folks. And oh my gosh, it's already 3 minutes to noon. Are we ending the show? Of course not. Of course not. We always do more stuff on Dave's Gone By. We almost always go overtime whenever we can. So yeah, we still have a couple of things to do. We have our My Sick Mind segment where I tell some absolutely awful uncalled for jokes. That's what I do all the time. We have our story time. We'll do a little bit more of Why Fish Fart, the wonderful book by Frances Gould, I think, Francesca Gould. Why Fish Fart. We'll go back to that for a bit. And what else? Oh my gosh, thank goodness we did the quiz inside Broadway. We will bid farewell at the end of the show to our other friend of the Daverhood, by the way, because that's kind of important. So let's get to, one of my favorite bits in the program, our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. Now this is where, for months now, every week I've been doing a poem about some town, city, or municipality in Colorado, because I've been living in Colorado for the previous 9 years. And so it got it into my head one day to write little raunchy, awful, sick poems about all these towns, just because why not, you know? And this time we're going to do it named after one of the founders, really, of Northern Colorado, Meeker, Nathan Meeker. He was, I'll tell you about having a bad time in Colorado. He was sent by Horace Greeley to the colonies to create a colony in Northern Colorado, in Greeley and Evans, in that area. So Horace Greeley is known, of course, he's the namesake for Greeley, Colorado, this newspaper guy in New York. So go west, young man. So he didn't go west. He sent Nathan Meeker to go west and help settle Colorado. Nathan Meeker tried, and then he was slaughtered by the Native Americans along with 11 other settlers. So not a great time for Nathan Meeker, but they did name a colony after him. And so there is a Meeker, Colorado. It's a tiny little isolated town in northwest Colorado. And that is why we're doing our Colorado Limerick of the Damned this week in honor of Meeker. Where is it? Here it is. Meeker, Colorado.
You're the poetry man.
A limerick is a comic verse of 5 lines, in which lines 1, 2, and 5 will end with words that rhyme. And likewise, verses 3 and 4 also end with words that rhyme. So this is a limerick.
Rocky Mountain, Colorado, 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 Colorado.
Yeah, Meeker, Colorado, it's going to be as our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. I want to let you know that Meeker still exists. It became a popular spot for hunting because, it's Colorado. There's all this wildlife and stuff. Teddy Roosevelt stayed at the Meeker Hotel when he came to Colorado on a getaway. It is now a destination. They've made it very nice there. So a lot of CEOs go up there on vacation and for retreats. Apparently, comedian Daniel Tosh likes to go there, and when he's on vacation. So Meeker, Colorado, yeah, not so bad, or at least not until I'm getting through with it, with our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. A cancer researcher from Meeker is also the town's best-known streaker. He keeps his vaccines at home in his jeans, but guess where he carries his beaker? Yes, that's our Colorado Limerick of the Dam. Please send any comments, complaints to davesgoneby@aol.com, davesgoneby@aol.com, or you can always message me right here on the Facebook page, facebook.com/davesgoneby. You know that because you're watching here right now. But remember that all the archives reside at our website, davesgoneby.com. They're free, and they go all the way back to our very first episode, 713 plus episodes ago, davesgoneby.com. Also, you can, for recent episodes, like the last half year, we've been putting the audio as MP3 podcasts on castbox.fm. Castbox.fm. So if you like to listen to things on the go or at the gym or in the car and you can't have like a computer in front of you to listen to Dave's Gone By that way, although you can just dial up Dave's Gone By on your phone and still listen. But here's the deal. Castbox.fm is a podcast place. Plug in, download, there you are on your MP3 player or your iTunes thingy, or however people now listen to podcasts. That's one way. It's not the video, it's just the audio, but you can go to castbox.fm and catch this program that way. The program being Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz. It is Saturday, September 21st, 2019. So we've got, as I say, a bit more to do of the show. We're not going away so quick. So those of you who are waking up late on the West Coast and can't, you have to listen to the show later on in the week because you missed the first 3 hours, it's okay. We have My Sick Mind still to go. We have story time. And first, though, what's kind of cool is got to thank once more Lucie Arnaz for being with us in the Daverhood. Thank you to Rabbi Saul Solomon for doing that interview. To find out more about him, go to his website, shalomdammit.com, shalom, D-A-M-M-I-T, shalomdammit.com. That is the place to find out all about his writings, his rabbinical reflections, these mini sermons that he was doing for a long time on the show. You can hear them and read them as well. Plus, he did 10 hilarious episodes of a TV show on Long Island Cable TV a few years back. Those episodes, they're on YouTube. The links are right at his website, shalomdammit.com. Plus, of course, his stage show, Shalom Dammit, An Evening with Rabbi Saul Solomon. The early, long, full version of that show is on YouTube, and the link is at shalomdammit.com. It's hilarious. I think it's wonderful. Check it out. So it's all there. Thanks to both of them for being on this episode of Dave's Gone By. We keep tabs of the people who've been on this program. It's exciting to us when we have famous people like Lucie Arnaz and Lawrence Luckenbill on the program, and Anita Gillette, and people like that, and also the people who aren't so famous. We're thrilled to have them in the Daverhood as well. But we do a segment every week called Friends of the Daverhood, where we let you know, hey, so-and-so was on the show so many years back. Now they're doing this other program. They've recorded a new album. They've written a new book. What's happening with our friends of the Daverhood? So, in Friends of the Daverhood news, I want to let you know that today at UCLA in Los Angeles, Seth Rudetsky, who I also went to school with, he is co-hosting Concert for America to benefit the National Immigration Law Center, and it's going to be live streaming. Seth's husband is producing this thing. It's at UCLA in LA, Seth Rudetsky co-hosting Concert for America. Also today, if you're in Peekskill, New York. I know Lucie Arnaz on the 27th is going to be in White Plains. But today, in Peekskill, New York, at the Paramount Theater, Gary U.S. Bonds. So don't miss that. And then today and tomorrow at the York Theater Company, Uda Lemper is doing her Marlena Dietrich-based show. This is what happens to after 3 hours, right? Rendezvous with Marlena. That is at the St. Peter's Church. It's a York Theater Company staging. True Stories, which is directed by our friend Gretchen Cryer. That is happening at the Cherry Lane Theater on Commerce Street now and tomorrow. And then on Tuesday, check it out. Andrea Marcovici is directing somebody else's cabaret show. She's directing someone named Anne Kittredge that is happening at the Cellar on West 54th Street. It's kind of like in that Studio 54 complex where they have 54 below, and then I guess they even have something below that. Anne Kittredge is there, being directed by Andrea Marcovici. Alice Ripley, the Tony-winning actress, she is playing in Sunset Boulevard as Norma Desmond. That is happening in California at North Shore Music Theater from the 24th of September through early October. Mark Nadler, that wild madman of the piano, he is going to be at the Laurie Beachman Theater. That is happening this Wednesday. Ethan McSweeney is our director friend. He is directing his wife, Nancy Anderson, in a play called The Willard Suitcases. That is happening in the theater where he is artistic director in Richmond, Virginia. I want to let you know that on Thursday, Mark Agranoff, is it Mark or Mike? I think it's Mike Agranoff, is doing his, I don't even have time to explain this, but his best known piece is a poem about late night classic old time radio called The Sandman, and he will be performing it at the Pete Fornatel Archives Party at the New York Public Library Lincoln Center campus or area. That is happening on Thursday. And of course, Pete Fornatel, I think he was the last interview he ever did. He did on Dave's Gone By before passing away. So very unexpectedly and quite young. So yeah, both of them on that this coming Thursday. Thomas G. Waits is directing A White Man's Guide to Rikers Island. Keeps getting extended, and it's running at the Producers Club through through September 29th. Robert Cuccioli is in Caesar and Cleopatra, a new adaptation that is on Theater Row, and I'm scheduled to go see that tomorrow. So I'll let you know what I thought next week. But our friend Robert Cuccioli in Caesar and Cleopatra now through mid-October. Also through mid-October at Joe's Pub on Lafayette Street, Adrienne Truscott's still asking for it. Well, she'll give it to you if you go see her at Joe's Pub. And she's a performance artist. Very, if you think Jacqueline Novak is pushing some buttons, I'm sure Adrienne Truscott is pushing even more. The adorable Nellie McKay, she is in a play called A Play is a Poem at the Mark Taper Forum. That is in California, by the way, now through middle of October. Jill Eikenberry is in her husband Michael Tucker's Fern Hill, a play over at E59 Theaters off Broadway. The Tuckerberry was in the Daverhood just 2 weeks ago. David Yazbek, his wonderful musical, The Full Monty, is playing at the Argyle Theater in Babylon. Have you heard about this place? They're doing big musicals there in Babylon, Long Island, a brand new theater there. That is playing through October 20th. I'm sorry, this Mozart is getting a little bit over insistent, so I'm going to lower that just a little bit more. Sorry, it's mostly Mozart, but it should be mostly me. What else? Beautiful, the Carole King musical on Broadway features a book by Douglas McGrath. Andre DeShields, the Tony winner, you can see him in Hadestown on Broadway. Irene Sankoff and David Hein, they wrote the very, very emotionally rich Broadway musical Come From Away. Danny Burston, you can see him in Moulin Rouge on Broadway. You can watch Dakin Matthews play the judge in To Kill a Mockingbird on Broadway. And we just mentioned David Yazbek. He, of course, co-wrote the musical Tootsie, which features our friend of the neighborhood, Julie Holston. Daniel Breaker is in Hamilton, as if any of us can afford to see that. And then Jim Caruso's cast party every Monday night at Birdland. Go to stagebuddy.com for information about New York nightlife. That is founded by our friend Evan Seplow. Dr. Demento is still doing new and old Dr. Demento shows at drdemento.com. And then Charlie Gross and Leslie Hoban Blake. I just saw Charlie actually at the theater the other night. They both do a theater review show called Two on the Aisle on Manhattan Cable TV. That is also where you can find Eva Heinemann's program, High Drama. Check her Facebook page to find out more about that. Bob Cudmore doing podcasts about upstate New York history at bobcudmore.com. Everything old is new again. Sunday nights on WBAI, hosted by our friend David Kenny. And finally, read about California theater in TotalTheater.com, and our friend Willard Manis. Check his reviews at TotalTheater.com. And those, my friends, are the friends of the Daverhood. Wow. Okay. Well, where are we? My gosh, it's 10 after 12 Eastern Time here in I used to call it the Radio Daverhood, which it really isn't anymore. It's more like the Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio Daverhood with me, Dave Lefkowitz, live on this Saturday, September 21st, 2019. I guess it's the day before autumn. And so we have a couple of more quick things to do. Let's do this because I have to do it. It's part of my nature. You know, most of the show is very kind of lovable. I make puns. I make snide little comments here and there and make as many jokes as I possibly can. I have a dark sensibility, mostly. This program was a lot darker 16 years ago. But mostly I keep things light, but not always. Something gets into my head. Sometimes I've got to be just a little bit more wicked, just a little bit more, oh, shame on you, Dave. Oh, that's sick, Dave. Can't help myself. It's all part of the fabric. If you don't like this next upcoming segment, tune out for 5 minutes and then tune back in time for story time. But for now, we have the very sad news, the bad news that Rick Ocasek passed away about a week ago. I didn't make any notes on this, but of course he was the lead singer and founder of the Cars, a band from the 1980s, had great MTV success, you know, a lot of singles on the charts, some very good songs. Not really my favorite band, but certainly they made their mark, as did he. And God, I mean, you know, I remember when I was in my 20s and seeing photos of Paulina Poriskova around because she was a supermodel and going, the most gorgeous woman ever born, ever in the whole history of the universe. And I wonder who she's going to marry. I wonder who Paulina is going to choose out of all the men in the universe that she could possibly, it won't be me, that's for sure. And she went with Rick Ocasek, right? And I mean, he's not a bad looking guy, but an odd looking fella. And it made everybody just pick up the guitars and pick up their pianos, which were even heavier, and practice even harder. Because you know what? If Rick Ocasek can ... because he's rich and famous, or just maybe he's really personable and nice and funny, and that was really, you know, he got to meet her because he was famous, but then they connected because he was a good guy and all these good beauty underneath sort of things. Whatever it was, luckiest guy in the world. And it was that big shock a year ago when after all those years, you know, the kids grow up, the couple start, they aren't the same people that they were 25, 30 years ago, and they split apart and she left. And I wonder now if how healthy he was, how not healthy. And they stayed friends and they stayed a couple in terms of raising their kids together, because she was the one who apparently found him when he had passed away a few days ago. But anyway, sad news, absolutely sad news that Rick Ocasek passed away. But sick puppy that I am, I do like to make jokes about tragedy and calamity. So ladies and gentlemen, please don't hold it against me, or do if you must. But it's time for my Sick Mind segment, where I can't help it. It is my sick mind thinking about Rick Ocasek. So let me get back to there we go. Gotta play the intro.
My sick, my sick, my sick, my sick, my sick mind.
Well, talk about bad taste.
My sick, my sick, my sick, my sick, my sick mind. You sick little monkey.
Yes, I am a sick little monkey, ladies and gentlemen, which I will demonstrate in this segment, the My Sick Mind segment, with a couple of jokes about the passing, yes, of Rick Ocasek. Here we go. I've got to get my my sound effect ready, because that'll save the day. Even though the jokes aren't very good, if you have the right sound effect, we'll see. Let me get them ready. Here we go. What's the best way to keep Rick Ocasek's ashes from clumping in his urn? Shake it up. Okay, there we go. Because one of their songs was shaking. The answer is no one. What's the question? Who's going to pick you up when you fall? Oh, what did Paulina say when she walked out the door? Bye-bye, love. It's more of an Everly Brothers question, but apparently they did a song called that. All right, here we go. What did God say to Rick Ocasek? Let's go. Kind of have to know the song titles to get all these things. Oh, this is horrible. What did one hungry maggot say to another when they both saw Rick Ocasek's corpse? Just what I needed. Oh my God, why did I do this? Here we go. Where is Rick Ocasek now? This side of paradise. That's not a song, that was one of their album titles. Or no, that was his first solo album title. What did the first two pallbearers say to the other two pallbearers when they came to a narrow hallway? Move like this. These aren't so much sick as just bad. What does Paulina have in common with the earth? What? Oh, yeah. I'll say that again. What does Paulina have in common with the earth? Rick Ocasek is now separated from both of them. Come on, that was a little clever. A little clever. Last one, thank God. Did Rick Ocasek's old bandmates get upset at the funeral? No, just car sick. Ladies and gentlemen, and not a moment too soon, as David Letterman would say, that is my sick mind. Okay, well, I'm happy to say that we did save a little time towards the end for one last segment of the program being Dave's Gone By the way, and me being Dave Lefkowitz, and you guys being you. So, yeah, before we get out of here, as promised, and I know Cynthia and Jeff love this segment, my wife not so much, and since my viewers and my fans and my audience always trump any relatives or anybody who I actually care about or is close to me, because that's just what show business is, we're going to do our Storytime segment with Yes, Yes, More Of Why Fish Fart by Francesca Gould. Gross but true things you'll wish you did not know. And notice, I wish somebody would explain the logistics of why I turn red and pink when I hold this book up, and then I get more of a cold gray feeling when I put the book down. Don't know. It's a wonder. Probably Aaron Sorkin, who wrote a play about David Sarnoff, would have or Philo Farnsworth would have the answer to that technically. But I don't care about that. I just care about going into story time.
Tell me a story, tell me a story, tell me a story. Remember what you said. You promised me, you said you would. You gotta give in, so I'll be good. Tell me a story, then I'll go to bed.
Lum-de-doo, lum-de-dee, lum-de-la-la-la-la-la. Yes, story time. And I do love this segment basically because it takes the onus off me. It's a joke in there that I'm not going to make, but I get to use other people's material and just bank off that. You know, it's kind of like Greeley Crimes in old times. Somebody else has done the heavy lifting. I just get to share cool stuff with you. The segment started, as you all know, many, many months ago when I brought our beloved Subaru into the mechanics, and he had a book there called A Cow for Hansel, which I had to read. And I read cover to cover, week after week on this program. And ever since then, we've been making a little bit of time to read other people's work as part of Storytime. So this is a book of just disgusting, horrible facts and the way people would torture each other. Earlier, sort of coming full circle, we talked about how Jews were tortured and killed on this date several hundred years ago in Switzerland of all places, because they were being blamed for the Black Plague. So we were reading about tortures last time, for example, about goats' rough tongues being used to torture prisoners. Let's get on to other implements of torture that wasn't even meant to be torturous. This is how ridiculous this is. Why did the Chinese bind the feet of young girls? Why did they do that? Until fairly recently, the Chinese had a long tradition of binding the feet of young girls. Small feet were highly prized as marks of great beauty, and since women tended to have smaller feet than men, it was felt that the smaller a woman's feet, the more feminine she was. Foot binding went on for almost 1,000 years and didn't really begin to die out until the beginning of the 20th century. It was prohibited in China in 1911, although continued in isolated provinces well into the 30s. Young girls would have their feet bound from the age of about 7 years old. The mother and other close female relatives would tightly wrap each foot in bandages, sparing only the big toe, which pointed upward. The other toes would be bent into the sole of the foot, and the sole and the heel would be bound as close together as possible. Nothing funny about this. It's just the bindee would then be made to walk so that the bones in her toes and arches would break and keep the new shape. Oh, Jesus God. Every few weeks, the bound feet would be squeezed into smaller and smaller shoes. This was an excruciatingly painful process, and the girls would suffer pain for about a year. Eventually, their feet just became numb. The goal was for the girl to have a foot that measured as little as 3.5 inches long. Naturally, the girls' feet would become grossly deformed, which means they would hobble when they walked, if they could walk at all, and many of them had to be carried. So, I can't even... I know David Henry Wong wrote a play about this. I gotta have some kind of... Well, you know, I guess if they did it wrong, and they did the foot binding badly, would the girls get toe mane poisoning? I nailed that one. Does that make me a heel? All right. Moving on to our next disgusting item in this book. After the execution of King Charles I, why did people dab their hankies into his blood? I never heard this. Oh, God. Charles I lived only 49 years, from 1600 to 1649. He was a deeply unpopular English king who inspired 2 civil wars. After the second one, he was captured, tried, and found guilty of making war on his own people. He was sentenced to be executed in 1649. As the axe came down upon his neck, there was a groan from the crowd. The axeman then held Charles's head up to the crowd. Here, let me, Potato wants to take part in this. Hold on. Here we go. Okay, we're going to do this. Okay, are you ready, Potato? Oh, yeah. Woo! Woo. Gee, Tabby, if I knew you wanted a little head, I would have called it. No, that's not the same thing, Potato. Now, you be quiet. So they're holding, the executioner was holding up King Charles's head, and blood spattered everywhere. Like ketchup. Yes, like ketchup, Potato. After paying a fee, people hurriedly dipped their handkerchiefs in the king's blood and took hairs from his head and beard. They also scraped up bloody earth from beneath the scaffold. Why? Well, they believed that royalty had godlike powers, and they thought that the king's blood would cure their wounds and illnesses. They wiped their blood-soaked hankies onto wounds, and some people dabbed them over themselves, one another, and their sick children. And then, of course, they went on to blame Jews for the Black Plague. Go figure. Anyway, hey, by the way, speaking of severed heads, if you can keep your head while all around you, potatoes are losing theirs, eat ketchup. Okay, I'm sorry, Potato. It's 3.5 hours into the show. I can't even be funny anymore. Whose head was shown off for nearly 30 years after his death? Celebrated English adventurer Sir Walter Raleigh, who lived in the 15 and early 1600s. He was a key figure in popularizing tobacco smoking in Britain. Well, during the 1500s, tobacco was seldom used for pleasure It was seen as a cure-all to treat almost every illness imaginable, from skin issues to gangrenous limbs. Sir Walter Raleigh specifically promoted and sold tobacco to the rich. The upper classes embraced pipe smoking, and Raleigh made a lot of money. Well, King James VI of Scotland not only disliked smoking, but he hated Walter Raleigh. When he became King of England in 1603, he had Raleigh, a Protestant, arrested and tried as a conspirator in a planned Catholic uprising. Raleigh was found guilty, sentenced to death, even though it was the flimsiest of evidence. Raleigh was beheaded in 1618 when he was 64 years old, and his body buried in St. Margaret's Church next to Westminster Abbey. However, Raleigh's head was put into a red leather bag and given to his widow, Elizabeth. She had Raleigh's head embalmed and is said to have carried it around with her wherever she went. Well, I guess she was getting a little ahead. Wow. I thought one joke was good, but that was a topper. That was head and shoulders above everything else I've done this. Sorry. Anyway, well, we're neck and neck with everything else. Now, apparently, when Elizabeth, this is the widow of Raleigh's wife, when people came to visit her at home, she would ask them if they would like to see her husband, Walter. If they agreed, she would bring his head out of the bag. She continued carrying the head around right up to her death 29 years later, but that was not the end of the story. Because even after Elizabeth, her death, her son Carew carried the tradition. Actually, Carew should have carried Walter Raleigh's head on a long rod. Then he would have been Rod Carew. I'm just hitting all the bases here. I'm sorry, we're almost done. So yes, Carew, Walter Raleigh's son, carried his father's head with him everywhere he went. Now, when Carew finally died in 1666, Raleigh's head was buried with him in West Horsley in Surrey. And that, oh my gosh. So why fish fart for this Saturday, September 21st, 2019. And boy, oh boy, we're going to get some more of this next week, because coming soon, did you know that a worm can come out of your nose? Yes, it can, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, the places we'll go. The things we do here on the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the stream with me, Dave Lefkowitz. Well, let me do some thank yous, first of all, and got a lot of folks to thank. First of all, my darling and adorable and wonderful wife, Joyce, for spending the first part of the program with us and doing Greeley Crimes and Old Times with us. Thank you so much, Joyce. And boy, oh boy, she's been just, I've been here, I've been working, I've been doing this show, I've been going to the theater, I've been, just on it 24/7, it feels like. There's always something more for me to do, but my gosh, she is out in Colorado boxing things and selling our car and selling our house and putting all these things together. I mean, I think I'm busy. It's nothing in comparison. So, hon, I love you and I thank you, and I'm just in awe of all the things that you have been doing. So love to you from me here in the Daverhood to my darling and wonderful wife, Joyce. Also, of course, got to thank one more time to Lucie Arnaz. Go see her. She, of course, is going to be at Feinstein's 54 Below. That is happening September 30th through October 2nd. Go get your tickets. And by the way, if you are in Westchester or towards upstate New York, remember that she's going to be first in White Plains on September 27th. The delightful Lucie Arnaz. Thank you so much to her in the Daver. Thank you to her helper, Elizabeth, for setting up the interview with Rabbi Saul Solomon. I mentioned him, that you can find out more about his writing and his comedy and his performing at shalomdammit.com. Shalom, D-A-M-M-I-T, shalomdammit.com. Want to let you know that you're going to want to tune in next week, Saturday, September 29th, 2019, because our guest is going to be, I don't know, maybe we're going to make it a thing now, but we're having children of famous parents, and the kids have become pretty famous themselves. Like we had Chris Lemon on a few years ago, the son of Jack Lemmon, and now of course we've had Lucie Arnaz. We've had this a couple of times, and that's fine. But almost by sheer coincidence, we've got someone else next week, Tandy Cronin. Now she is an actress in her own right, and quite a good one. She's doing a show in the United Solo Festival that you guys should all go see. But here's the deal. Tandy Cronin is the daughter of Hume Cronin and Jessica Tandy. You want to talk about another legendary couple in the showbiz. So we're going to try and ask both things just about Tandy and things about she growing up with her parents. That's kind of the deal. And she will be talking to Rabbi Sal Solomon next Saturday, September 29th, 2019, on the 715th edition of Dave's Gone By. With me, Dave Lefkowitz. Just remember that hopefully by the end of the day, or certainly by tomorrow morning, we're going to have a new, or we will have this edition of Dave's Gone By up and running on davesgoneby.com, as well as Castbox FM. Remember, you can also point people, if they're Facebook members, to the recent episodes of Dave's Gone By right on Facebook. I mean, we've been doing it here for, wow, a year and a half, almost 2 years now. So if you just keep scrolling down, if you missed a show, if you missed a guest that you're really interested in, just go on this Facebook page and scroll back, and you can watch all those shows. But if you want to go even further back in the show's history, it's all there at davesgoneby.com. I got a message here. Cynthia's still watching. Thank you so much. Wow, 3.5 hours, and stay tuned in. I really appreciate it. Cynthia and Jeff say that there's an HD3 sensor camera. Ooh, that should fix the color issue, because as you can see, if I go like this, it changes to the hue. So this is like Halloween, and this is more like Passover. So notice? Kind of cool, huh? Maybe not. Anyway, it just remains for me to say thank you so much for tolerating the buzzsaw outside our window here. And always construction, always. Anyway, hope you haven't minded it too much. Hope you've enjoyed the show, and that you'll be with us next Saturday, 9 a.m. until noon or thereabouts, for another edition of Dave's Gone By. Oh my gosh, which just reminds me, the one thing we didn't get to do is say farewell to another theatrical friend of the Daverhood. Oh my gosh, I'm glad that I remembered. But yeah, this past week, we lost, let me find the page, here we go. On last Sunday, September 15th, the theatrical world and the television world lost Phyllis Newman, 1962 Tony winner for the musical Subways Are for Sleeping. Phyllis Newman, born in New Jersey to immigrant parents. In fact, her mom and dad did like carnival boardwalk stuff to get by, telling fortunes and analyzing handwriting and basically doing whatever they could. In 1952, Phyllis Newman made her Broadway debut in the Harold Rome musical Wish You Were Here, kind of a forgotten musical that was a hit of the time. You know, if I hold the papers here, it's nice and warm color. Let's see, Phyllis Newman was also a standby in the Broadway musical Bells Are Ringing. She played Jane in a musical version of Pride and Prejudice that was called First Impressions. She was on Broadway in, speaking of Neil Simon, we asked earlier Lucie Arnaz about Neil Simon, whom she said was the funniest person she'd ever met. Well, Phyllis Newman was in the original Prisoner of Second Avenue on Broadway. She was also in the musical The Apple Tree by Sheldon Harnick, our friend of the Daverhood, and Bach, Jerome Bach. She was in the 1972 revival of On the Town. And of course, she did her solo show, The Mad Woman of Central Park West. Her last Broadway assignment, she was in Broadway Bound, the Neil Simon play in, was it 1986 that was on Broadway? Oh my gosh, didn't realize it was so long ago. She also did a ton of TV game shows. She played Melissa's mother on 30-something. Speaking of friends, I'm like, everybody's a friend of the Daverhood today, because the woman playing Melissa, and forgive me, I'm forgetting the actress's name. She's this cute redhead, and shame on me. But you know who I'm talking about. Anyway, Phyllis Newman played her mom on 30-something. Newman battled cancer, and then, and this may be one of her biggest legacies, she founded the Phyllis Newman Women's Health Initiative. You know, because when they started all those years ago, Broadway Cares, Equity Fights AIDS, and it was this big important deal, and they were helping people who had AIDS and HIV, and people who couldn't get out to shop for themselves and needed medical care and stuff. But then they realized, there are people with other health issues out there. So as the AIDS crisis eased in New York, they also realized, hey, women have breast cancer, women have other problems and cancers and uterine cancer. Let's help them too. And a lot of that money that they collect for BCEFA, when they have the Easter bonnet thing and the Christmas thing that they do, that is coming towards the Phyllis Newman's Women's Health Initiative, which is quite wonderful. She was married to Adolph Green. Betty Comden wasn't. We all know that. Betty Comden and he were working writing partners, but Adolph Green was married to Phyllis Newman all those years. She is the mother of journalist Adam Green and the mother of composer Amanda Green, who's had some success on Broadway with Bring It On and Hands on a Hard Body and High Fidelity. And of course, Phyllis Newman was a guest in the Daverhood a few years ago. So we're very, very proud that she was on the show. Again, just go to davesgoneby.com or search on YouTube, and you can watch or listen to, it was just audio, the interview that we did with Phyllis Newman, our late friend of the Daverhood. So let's hear a little bit of the show for which she won a Tony Award. It was called Subways Are for Sleeping, and I thought it was a flop, but actually it ran a bit, it did okay. And I believe this is the one that David Merrick was producing. And when the critics didn't really like it, he gussied up the box office by finding people whose names matched those of well-known critics like Walter Kerr and John Simon and all the people who were writing about theater back then. And he found people with those names, like in the phone book, and got them to see the show, wined and dined them, and then took their quotes about how wonderful the show was and put them in a big ad, full-page ad in the New York Times for Subways Are for Sleeping. If I'm remembering correctly, this was the show. And it worked. The show, I don't know if it was a big hit, but it certainly ran a bit and was a soft hit. And it did prove a Tony-winning vehicle for our friend, the late Phyllis Newman. So let's hear a song by her. It's her show-stopping number. It's called I Was a Shoe-In, the late Phyllis Newman on Dave's Gone By. Make it a wonderful autumn. Enjoy your last day or two of summer. We'll see you next week right here in the Daverhood and Gone By.
I was a shoe-in, a shoe-in, a shoe-in winner from Mississippi, back there where I come from. Not Massachusetts, not Minnesota, but Mississippi, there I was born.
So, I have to be very careful about how much, as you all know, I can play of pre-recorded music on YouTube. But, go find that on Spotify or iTunes from Subways Are for Sleeping, Phyllis Newman. Well, this is Dave Lefkowitz, and I always feel like a new man when I finish an episode of Dave's Gone By every Saturday. Have a great week. We'll see you now. Everybody's tuning in now. It's 12:39. We just finished the show, and my old friend Nathan and Karen from the library, suddenly people are now tuning in to Dave's Gone By. It's like, we don't like the first 3.5 hours of the program, but the last 2 minutes, we're going to tune in for that. If you missed the show, go to the archives at davesgoneby.com or right here on Facebook. Tell friends, tell enemies, tell everyone you know that we want more listeners, we want more viewers. That's the idea, to build up all of our Daver hoodlums that my beloved watchers and viewers and fans are. Thank you. It really means a lot to me to see you here every week, and Gone By.